thank you all for joining us for the third edition of the African Youth Gender and Climate Conference, Resilient Africa, Youth-Led Innovation for Climate Action and Gender Equity. This conversation is so important, as you can hear from our ladies. It's rather unfortunate I didn't see the boy and some of the gentlemen talking on behalf of the group, but this is why we came. The main reason why we came here is to give a voice to the women that have, we all know this, right? Women haven't had voice for a very long time. And according to one of these nice statistics that we have, it will take about 134 years to achieve gender parity, equity among our citizenry. The entire world, when you consider how women have been marginalized for a very long time, systemic marginalization. So this effort, collective actions towards breaching those gaps and doing less like something that we'll call a quantum leap. Because 134 years, I don't know if we'll all be here to see that. So it means that we have to move fast. We have to be very intentional, very purposeful, and we have to collaborate to make sure we move the needle, right? So you are here as collaborators, as participants, as leaders of that sort of future that we want to see. And we really believe that the future is here with us, right? So please be involved, be open. And the idea of the networking session is to make sure everybody break the ice and make sure you come to Ghana, right? Some people don't want to come to Ghana. You don't want to be in Ghana. The ladies who can say, I don't want Ghana. Doreen said something about the political side of things. We're in a political season, so nobody's here to talk or give any political party anything, but we are part of the process, right? So it's only fair for us to acknowledge the challenges that we all face in the country and be interested in the governance of our country. And one of the things that we should all know is that gender climate conversations are more or less like in the bosom of the leaders of our country to make sure that it actually gets realized. The things that we'll talk about here, the policies that have to be designed, the inclusion of you and I, the young people at the decision-making table, they have to do the right things, right? And so we should be interested in the governance and the politics of our nation. And we should have a voice. If you don't have a voice, come for mine. If you don't have a voice, also you can stand behind somebody who is very vocal to feed the person your brilliant ideas. Let them hear you. One way or the other, say something. That's the idea, right? So thank you so much for joining us for today. We will be starting our conference now. As I said, it's a third edition, so we have been here for a very long time. And Anijie Global Foundation is privileged, fortunate, honored to be doing this with British Council. We have the support of a couple of media houses, TV3, GH1, Adon TV, what else? There's one other media house. When I remember, I'll tell you. But there's also the Chi, what's the name of that company that produces the water? Trillium, yeah, Trillium Company. Yes. So they're also supporting us. They'll be refreshing us pretty soon. And then we have the support of very active players in the ecosystem when it comes to students, which is ASU, the African Students Union. And I have my friends here with me, so they can give me a wave. So they'll be helping us harvesting the insights from the conversation, and you hear from them at the tail end of the conversation based on what we would all be sharing. Right? They will summarize our insights and tell us what we will have to take forward as the key action steps. All right. So at this juncture, before we get to see there's going to be some nice display, some musical interludes, some cultural dance, and all those things. But before we get to see all those exciting things, we have to receive a welcome address. And the mean to do that, we've been on the journey for a very, very long time. When we built or helped to set up this amazing foundation called the Anijie Global Foundation, it's going to tell you how the journey has been and give you a proper welcome, right? So Help me welcome Mr. Noels, who project, what is he? Hold the horses. You clap for him. Let me see him. So Noels will be giving us a welcome address, and then we'll start. He is a project director for the Anijie Global Foundation, and then the next line will be the representative of the government chair. The government chair was fortunate to visit the government chair, the King Greater Accra traditional area, right? It's a big, no, okay, I shouldn't call him a big man. He's a king. So what else? He's very big. So yeah, Nels is here. Let us give it up for Nels as he can accommodate.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AYGCC 2024. We are beginning this morning in the name of our Creator, the one that you believe in. Amen. His Royal Majesty, Kentucky Teko Churu II, the representatives, yes, Her Excellency Maudlin Akwesi Awoku, founder and CEO of Anijie Global Foundation, panel members, distinguished guests, honorable members, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to British Council, Accra, Ghana, and this year's African Youth and Climate Conference, acronymed AYGCC 2024, with the theme Resilient Africa, Youth-Led Innovation for Climate Action and Gender Equity. Begin by thanking our founder and CEO of Anijie Global Foundation, Her Excellency Maudlin Akwesi Awoku, for your leadership and service to the progress. Your really important. As you took the challenge of establishing the Anijie Global Foundation 5 years ago, after you completed your national service at the United Nations Development Program, UNDP acronymed, 5 years ago. Let me also thank the board members of Anijie Global Foundation, the co-founder, Mrs. Nana, the members of Anijie for their extraordinary support to be able to hold this conference here in this historic venue, British Council. We take it as a historic venue because over the past 2 years, as we've been hosting this conference, we've been doing it at the Ghana Innovation Hub at Circle. But this year, we are having it right here at British Council. Gratitude also extend to the ongoing legit program Cohort 1. Program Cohort 1, if you are here with legit cohorts. Okay, they are in charge of the HSs and all that here at this conference. Last but not least, I thank our special guest of honor and representative, His Royal Majesty Kentucky Teko Churu II, the government chair, the traditional council, for their willingness and dedication to grace this year's AYGCC 2024. I must commend, indeed, the British Council, the panelists, the key stakeholders for the spirit of cooperation that you have shown to ensure that this conference is indeed a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 years ago, the board members of Anijie Global Foundation came together during one of our annual conference, our annual general meeting. We came together to establish AYGCC. From that idea, our AYGCC was adopted and movement began. So that's what we're today. The African Youth Gender and Climate Conference, acronym AYGCC, is an annual forum uniting young African leaders to tackle climate challenges while championing gender inclusivity. It empowers youth to develop and implement innovative, inclusive solutions for sustainable development across the continent. This cutting-edge platform unites Africans' brightest young minds with seasoned experts, fostering innovative solutions to combat climate challenges while championing gender inclusivity. Through engaging discussions, hands-on workshops, and collaborative projects, AYGCC equips next generation of leaders. That is why we have basic school and secondary schools here as well. Across the continent. Together with the Sustainable Development Agenda, we have a clear path forward to clearly address climate change and sustainable development. Yes, it is an incomplete journey. This is the third edition of AYGCC, but never have we met the greatest of AYGCC. Just as during the address of the United Nations on 24th of September this year, our own very president, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, was there at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, and he made a statement. He emphasized that although Africa contributes minimally to global emissions, it's disproportionately consequences of climate change, such as flood and desertification. He asserted that addressing is not merely an option, but pressing necessity, collective action. And we affirm, he asserted that addressing climate change is not merely an option, but a pressing necessity that demands collective actions. Africa cannot continue to bear the burden of crisis it did not create, he stated, highlighting the need for fairness, not charity. World Meteorological Organization's State of the Climate 2004 update was released in November this year at COP 29 in Azerbaijan. The reports highlighted that 2004 is on track to the warmest year on record, that the pace of climate change is alarming. The report also indicates information on temperature, high ice loss, sea level rise, ocean heat, extreme weather, climate mitigation, adaptation, and gender equity. This message cannot get any clearer. We no longer have the luxury of time. We must act now. This, right here, right now, is where we begin in this auditorium. And we are excited about the enthusiasm of the non-party stakeholders, around over 200 members that are here this morning, to have a conversation and look for solutions that apply to our practical lives. Dear friends, I have outlined the importance of our task this morning, the urgency with which we need to complete them, and the increased ambition that we need from all of you seated right here in this auditorium. Let us go forward. Let us complete our work. Let us act with a renewed sense of ambition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noels. Christmas is coming, and Noels just gave us a welcome message. Isn't that interesting? You know, Noel, Noel. You know that music, right? So Noels has given you a Christmas message, and in prep for a festive season. But on the subject matter, I want to say thank you so much, Noels, for letting us understand why we are here and letting us appreciate the journey of the Anijie Global Foundation. Yeah, 5 years ago, we were somewhere UNDP thinking through this, and it's been an amazing journey. And he actually touched on scale. You think of why we have a lot of young people in the room, right? The agenda is really about them. because, of course, we are giving the torch to the next generation. Somebody is passing on the torch to me, but it's like the person is trying to battle it out. But me, I'm free spirited, and I'm happy to share this knowledge and share this experience to you. But please be very receptive, right? Be willing to listen, to appreciate the passion behind the message, and then walk with the talk, right? That's the difference, isn't it? That's it, right? Awesome. So thank you so much for paying attention and for appreciating the journey of Anijie Global Foundation. We're going to do this now by first doing something that I've always wanted to do. A fireside chat with the founder of Anijie Global Foundation, right? I'm going to talk about the nitty-gritties of the journey of Anijie. Basically, 3 pointers. We'll sit on this chair, one of these chairs. Don't worry, this is a family meeting, so don't be too high level for me. Okay, fantastic. So, Modena Kwese, there's an H.E in front of her name. When you search on social media, you see Her Excellency Modeling Akwese Wuku. And I'm like, hey, when did you become Her Excellency? And me, I'm still here. I said, my power child, don't worry, I won't spotlight you too much. But you're a big woman. So basically have a conversation about who she is, how the journey has been in building a non-profit. I know it's not easy. And there's a lady sitting right in front of me here. She has a long history of building a non-profit. I happen to work with an organization that, if I should mention the name, she'll be like, oh, you're being part of my journey. So I work with Reach for Change. And so Cody is one of our leading social entrepreneurs that Reach for Change has supported years ago, before I even joined Reach for Change. But I've been seeing her around doing amazing things. So Environment 360, kudos for your work. So I'm taking some of the shine from onto some of the people in the room because the sky is big. I love that. So here's the thing. Modeling is one example of perseverance. Coding is also one example of perseverance. And then there are a number of people out there who are also building fantastic enterprises. And we'll definitely hear their story. But one thing that we miss out in our world is that we don't tell these stories enough, right? And either we are not saying them, or somebody is not documenting, or we are not documenting them to even amplify them. So we're going to take modeling as a case study, right? And then use her knowledge, experiences to inspire someone here who also wants to build or do something for the betterment of our world, right? Starting from the small corner where you are. And so, modeling, that's basically it. I've given you the preamble. So first off, I'm wondering, why AYGCC? Maybe you can go from the top, how the idea dropped into your head, and why you're pursuing this mission.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Modeling Akwese Wuku. I'm a women and youth advocate and founder for Anijie Global Foundation. So, Anijie Global Foundation, we are a youth-led nonprofit where we empower women, young people through leadership development, education, while advancing global goals. And at the moment, we have the Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030. And as some of us may aware, the sustainable development goals are 17, and they are very much interlinked. But we as an organization, we are focusing on 3 goals, which is goal 4, quality education, goal 5, climate, gender equality, and then goal 13, climate action. So why AYGCC? AYGCC was born out of Anijie Global Foundation. We as an organization, advancing gender equality and climate action, we realized that there isn't any convening platform at the moment. Most of them are either focused on only climate or for youth or for education. So we saw it as creating a convening platform where we can interconnect climate and then gender equality. So as an organization, we've also taken a lot of initiatives in addressing climate. So we decided to create this platform. where young people can come together, not just as a conference, but come out with solutions in addressing climate action. So as an organization, we've taken lots of initiatives such as tree planting, waste management, sensitization programs, schools advocacy, school tours, and partnering with various organizations across Ghana and even outside Ghana. So that is how we started.
Amazing. So on the issue of gender and climate, a lot of people cannot really trace the link. Let's spend a bit of time to establish that link. So climate is with us. Air is being depleted. Our climate is getting hotter. How is gender got to do with climate? Let's bring some understanding there, because some young people are here and they are like, even the gender issue, we need to actually also get to appreciate or have an understanding to gender. When we say gender equity, gender equality, gender parity, gender mainstreaming, gender sensitization, that's really nice things there. So let's bring sort of understanding to this, right? Climate, gender. What is the nexus or connection between? You said there's interconnection.
Yeah.
Let's break it down and let's get the audience to understand why we are here.
Okay, so I'll tackle it from gender first. So the agenda for gender equality is basically to give opportunities for women and girls. So as we all know, we are in a patriarchy society, especially in Africa, and a lot of women have. So our agenda is to empower women and girls to take initiative as men to maximize their potentials. And I like to state there's not to be more than a man or to take over a man.
Thank you for
yes. Yes, a lot of people. Important. Yes, a lot of people get that wrong because people think the agenda of gender equality is to be more than a man or to control a man. But I like to state that that is not the agenda of gender equality.
We are conscious feminists.
Yes, it's to give women and girls the same opportunity that a man has. For instance, when you go to various workplaces, some men are being paid more than women because we believe that men are the breadwinners in quotes in the house. So a woman can be doing the same job as a man, but then the woman paid more than the woman. And when we go to various homes, you can now testify that women take more care roles, especially when it comes to taking care of children and the family. But then they do not have access to the opportunities. So, for instance, if a woman has children, she may have to take steps back to take care of the children while the man is still going to work or something. Even issues like period poverty, men do not menstruate. So someone has to chip this in. So when women are menstruating, some women have to stay home, to go to school, or even cannot afford sanitary towels and all of that. And comparing it to an average student or a guy, the money we invest in buying sanitary towels alone, you men will not invest that money. You get to save it. So even when it comes to finances, yes, that is. But how many women can get a man to buy? So that's where it leads to other issues because it leads to.
It's not all right.
Yes.
Got you.
So that's like an outside thing.
Yeah.
Because how many women will get someone? I mean, it's not mandatory for someone to buy sanitary towel for you.
Absolutely.
So comparing it to an average person, some people could not even afford daily square meals. Not to talk of spending the amount of money to buy something you throw away. So now people are introducing sustainable menstrual hygiene products, but that's not the focus for today. So when it comes to climate action, I also like to say that climate conversations are not only for passionate climate advocates. Climate affects all of us, and it's about time we get involved in the conversation. So when there is climate change, it mostly affects women and children. That is how come we mentioned that gender is interlinked with climate. Because, for instance, if there is droughts, there is a natural disaster, women are mostly staying behind while the men go out there to fend for the family. So women stay behind, and then what happens? Their dreams are shattered, their potentials are being maximized and not being maximized. So that's how can we believe that gender should also be the main focus when it comes to even leadership in attaining climate goals. When you look at the recent COP, how many women presidents do we have, or even women at the table to influence these conversations that affect women and girls? So that is how can we believe that we need a focused platform that is centered on gender and then climate.
Wow. Okay, so this is it. Climate affects everyone. There are inequalities that already exist, which there are several inequalities: income inequality, gender inequality between male and female, pay grade, and then there are also income inequalities. There are so many types of inequality. The focus is on gender, empowering the girl child to also believe that they would have a brighter future like their brother who seems to be more sponsored for school than her, which is a sad reality. But in emphasizing that, there's also the idea that the climate issues could grossly impact the woman who is very much involved in, let's say, some economic activity which is not already thriving. There are issues there, and if there should be some disaster somewhere, she would be grossly impacted because already how to sustain her business is problematic. And even when there's drought due to this, climate change issues, these women also, when you go to our rural areas, they are heavily involved in agriculture and they are more involved in the food business. So when the produce don't come from the farmland and they're not able to get the right tomatoes in the market, eventually our business doesn't thrive. And already the women have low or very less opportunities to be actively involved in the economy. Even though we tout this, we say this all the time that SME businesses, and I'm in the SME space, right? And I'm also very much interested in the social economy. And you look at the two sides based on what you're saying, that women lack the opportunity. When you look at the SME business opportunities that women are able to access even for funding from the banks, soft loans, grants and all that, it's always very hard for them to break that, to get support for their business. Aside the full participation of the social activities around them, they're able to own a land by themselves. Building a house of their own becomes an issue, like Unko Wari and Sana Broko.
And just to add that, even there are situations where women even go to the bank to request for loans, and they are being requested to bring a man as a guarantor before they can get a loan. So you can imagine if a woman has a farm, she wants to till for her family. What if she's a widow? What if she's never been married? What if she has no masculine support?
Yeah.
So these are some of the issues that we believe that needs to be addressed.
Fantastic. So today's conversation that we're going to be having, this third edition, every year we have these conversations. Are there some significant milestones? Because I'm from the side where I go for a lot of these conferences, and I'm becoming very free, honestly. I'm becoming very relaxed. I don't want to be all the... Because, listen, these are conversations that we've had
over and
over. And there's a third edition. Can you help me? I alone know, maybe I don't know about someone, maybe we can connect. That I can really believe that when we gather here, we are really pushing a needle. We are really making something happen. So are there some milestones or some progress since we started this that we've seen that you can get someone like me to be hopeful that next year I should come here again, because Charlie, what we are talking and what we are doing here is really doing something, right? So can you share this with us, please?
Okay. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge All African Students Union as to they are one of our partners. So one of the key things we miss at conferences like this is after the conference, there's no action points, there's no resource that people can rely on for further research or for further collaboration. So thank you, Stu, for coming on board this year. So we'll be producing a document that can serve as a resource to be used as for policy formulation, to give out to the students here or anybody interested to know more about climate and gender and then whatever that happened here. Yeah. And secondly, as an organization, what we do differently is that this conference is more like a climax of the initiatives we take. So over the year, we go to various schools and we try to localize the climate conversations because most people believe that climate is supposed to be for a certain type of people. Thank you. You need to be an expert before you can talk about climate issues. So we try to take it down on for a layman, yes. So we address it from the grassroots points of view. So we've taken initiatives such as the climate act, which Morris mentioned earlier from our legit team. When we go to various schools, we try to localize it to them because the moment you start using technical conversations, people are disinterested. Something like net zero. The moment you mention net zero, it's like, what's net zero? But net zero is just, does everybody know what net zero is? Okay.
Net zero carbon emission.
Yes, so even at the mention of net zero sounds like a big deal.
Confusing them more. So it's a carbon emission. What are you talking about?
So net zero is just basically to reduce or bring the same level of carbon emission that we take out in the community, the greenhouse gases. So as an individual, what initiatives can you take to address net zero? For instance, if you are not using your lights in your room, you can turn it off. That's you contributing to net zero. So there are certain appliances we use. Right now, there are lots of solar panels and things. We can start navigating towards that level. Carpooling. If you're not driving, if both of you are going to the same place, like for instance, when we're coming here, we had to carpool to come here. So these are some of the things that we can do. But most people believe that it's you need to be very, very technical. So we are trying to break down that level of technicalities when it comes, even though there are technicalities in climate conversations, but we want to make it easy for people to understand. So conferences like this, when we come in the next future, we are looking to introduce workshops, even though we do that in various schools. And then, like I said, we climax it with the conference for the year. And then as well as having innovative programs also at our next workshop, because most of the time when we come, it's more like a talk show. Yeah. But then the networking is also very, very important. Absolutely. We hear people going to places like conferences like COP and all of this, and some people don't even know how to get there. But it's at these rooms you get to meet people who are more interested in these kind of conversations, and then you network with them. And that also creates that intriguement to know more about these conversations and how to go about it. Yes.
Awesome. So somebody here would possibly get to know someone who went to the conference of parties, what we call COP. It was the 29th edition, happened last week in Baku, Azerbaijan. So a couple of people here who have been there actually, but I won't point them because they want to be quoted, which is okay. But the conversation that transpired in COP, these are the things that modeling is emphasizing about. We break it down because it's like national level government people talking big things and confusing us with all these jargons, and they more or less like emphasize the whole thing on money, finance, capital to more or less like help. So there is what we call the national determined contributions from every country. We call the NDCs and all that. When it comes to setting up conferences like this, climate, you have the big one. A lot of people go pump money into it to do it. I don't know about you when it comes to partnership, collaboration, engagement, how it has been. Because these things, as we gather everybody here, the idea is that we are all coming here to Georgia to think through the issues and see a way forward in how to ensure sustainability. But the people here have expectations of their own. And they come here thinking that, oh, Kofue, you've made money, and you've brought us here. Please, let's do some reality check. How has it been for you organizing conferences like this?
Yes,
And
thank
the
you for
collaboration
mentioning.
and partnerships that.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. So, whereas as an organization, we are strictly youth-led, and in our part of the society, people believe that young people do not have a lot of skills and capacity. So, when it comes to issues of funding, especially, it's really a challenge. So, with us as an organization, our reality more focuses on funding because as young people, we are doing so well, but then we go and knock on certain doors, and then they think that, oh, you're young people and you're not really experienced,
Can't handle money.
you can't handle. And that's one of the challenges in speeding up climate when it comes to empowerment, collaboration, and then finance. So even today, for instance, we are including one of the students from Accra Girls on the panel. That's empowerment. Empowerment is not just talking; it's action. And then it's also putting money where our mouth is. So most of the time, our leaders go and talk, but then when it comes to pumping the money into the young people,
right places.
Yes, and we young people, we're on the ground. We know what is happening. And then, yes, we know what is happening. So one of the challenges is funding. And like I mentioned, let's give platforms to young people. So if you look on our panels, there are 90% young people. And we like I said, we know what is going on. We are ready to learn. We are ready to improve on ourselves. But then when you go to certain conferences or boardrooms, either they invite young people to take the boxes or to fill the chairs in the room, which is very wrong because if you believe that young people do not have the skills, you need to start now. The more you give the opportunity to the young person, the more they learn. So by the time we get to a certain level, we don't have to wait for the older generation to fade out before we start all over again. So we need to create that platform for young people. Like I said, empowerment is action oriented. And when it comes to the finance, also, I believe that the government, I don't know if there are representatives from the government here.
We invited them, the Ministry of Gender and Children.
Yes, I think they sent a rep.
And there's SNET. SNET is a government agency. They have a lot of money with our pensions. There are few of them.
So I think that there should be some sort of budget that should be allocated. I don't know if it's currently ongoing or so. Yes, but budget should be allocated for young people that are at the forefront of these conversations. And then I also think that as we young people, also, we need to also put ourselves out there because sometimes also there are opportunities that we don't know of them. So when it comes to conferences like this, you have to really network to know each other. That's how you get to know information. Personally, that's how it has really helped me. When I go for conferences like this, I try as much as possible to network with people and don't always look for the big person in the room. The flashiest, because someone standing next to you may not look who you think the person is, but that person could be your key to your next level. Yes, like Andrew. So I'm not just saying it's true.
Oh, like you.
Yes. So yes, and I think the other thing is collaboration also. So imagine if right now there is TikTok. Imagine if we have influencers talking about climate action. Everybody
That's a serious comment. Influencers are talking about some very interesting things.
So we sometimes think that now we've pushed the influencers to like the certain type of conversations only.
It's true, right?
But imagine
unnecessary things. I'm sorry. I'm just passionate about this things.
Well, there are some good influencers as well. But imagine if we have influencers that are actually into climate conversations about gender. You would see the involvement of even the governments or institutions knowing more about it or wanting to include them. So let's not just focus climate on scientists. Let's include everybody, the students, the farmers, the teachers, influencers. I'm very particular because now everything is about social media. And yes, so let's start including the influencers also. And the moment we start tagging them as negative influencers, they will not be interested in things like that. So maybe it's about time we also start going to these people or being our own influencers also.
Yeah.
We don't need to wait on, like, us as an organization, Anijie Global Foundation, we believe that we don't need to wait on the government to create change for us. It starts with you and I. So is it in your home, in your community? What's this thing that you think that needs to be addressed? The more we wait on the government, the more the problems keep compiling. So you start taking initiative, find people that are aligned with whatever you need to do, even if you don't know where to start, volunteer. And in our part of the world also, most of the time volunteers are not paid. That is a big challenge.
Yeah.
But then if you want to know something, there are sacrifices you need to make. So I have been a volunteer all my life, and I've seen the impact it has made in my life. And probably I will say if I didn't volunteer, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm still volunteering because there are some spaces, unless you volunteer, you never get there. Because they can't get you to come and host an event like this if you don't have the skills. But the more you volunteer and push yourself out there, people will see you, people will invite you if you want to be a speaker, if you want to join a company or an organization, or even start your own. Right now, wherever you go, it's not just in Ghana, you need strategic network. But if you don't avail yourself and you're in your house all the time, you don't go for events like these that are aligned with your goals, you never meet the right people that will hold your hand or will even introduce that information to you.
Wonderful. A lot of nuggets there. Fantastic ideas, right? Who here is an influencer? You have more than 5,000 followers. It is. Hey, my goodness. And there you go. Please hold your horses. Okay, is there a metrics? Is there some sort of criteria for measuring who an influencer is? So in terms of, so it's online presence, how active you are, your followers. So if you have above 1,000,
Can I come in?
okay,
So
it's only online. So yes, only online. Social media influencing, because based on modeling's point, I mean that's like a good sell, right? If we should unpack that and see how we can get the influencers to create influences, those droplets of influence around events or gatherings like this, which is youth focused. Perhaps we can be able to gain some traction and get some great funder to come on board to support us, right? And even taking this as a little step, maybe a step higher. Anijie is running something called the Next Gen. Mr. Hun spoke about it, right? The Next Gen Fellowship. You have a lot of young people who are building fantastic things, climate smart, innovative projects. There are some who are running the advocacy side of things to change mindsets around climate, education, and things like that. There's a group that is running the 16 days of activism, the gender-based violence activism. Great things, but they are posting their stuff. I think they hit on the road. They did some work.
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, yes. So we'll talk about that. It's tomorrow. They went to the radio station, and I was hoping that this thing will make noise. So these are young people, right, who are also on social media, and they are doing gender-based violence activism. And these are issues that are not mainstreamed when you connect it with the issue of gender, climate, and all that.
Andrew, before you continue, I want to correct you something. So
Correct
when
me.
it comes to influencers, you don't need to have so many followers.
I'm trying to measure the criteria. Right?
I'm not sure of the criteria, but sometimes that popular influencer you saw started from somewhere. So if you don't start, nobody will know you.
But what gets you influencer status? Like what eventually makes you an influencer? It has to do with
averagely, I think you need a lot of following for people to see whatever you're putting out there. So averagely, I'm not sure of the criteria. But then if you don't have a lot of following, that means people are not seeing your work.
Okay.
But one thing,
you can become an influencer.
Yes, you can start from somewhere. So you don't need to have a lot of following before your work. People acknowledge your work. So like you mentioned, tomorrow's work. And they're actually the interns of Anijie. They're having a walk tomorrow. And we were just there when we had a call from Star FM. And we even were very much surprised because we had just posted a thing. So sometimes people are watching and you don't even know.
I see.
Because how did Star FM just see and called us? Imagine if we had even gone to them to say we want to have this thing. Probably there'll be a budget they would give to us. But they called us that they want us on their show. So sometimes you may not have that large following. You think nobody's watching. There's some people don't never like it. They never even comment. They don't even follow you, but they are watching your work. And I'm an example.
The content has to be captivating, has to be inspiring.
So you need to start from somewhere.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you are looking at the fact that someone is all the way up there, when will you get it? They also started from somewhere. So you need to start.
I mean, I want to be an influencer. That's why I'm interested in this thing. I think I'm an influencer, but in a very different way. Well, I'm not so active on social media, but I think I have a lot of followers. Maybe
So what type of influencer? Are you a social media influencer?
Oh.
Are you a youth influencer?
Oh.
Are you a gender influencer? So people
an influencer?
people will be looking at you based on what they want to do.
I see.
So if the person is a social media person, someone wants to be popular, then they'll go to those popular people to go and watch what they do. But if they want to be like you, the way you are moderating, the way you are putting things together, or leading young people, they'll come and look at what you are doing.
Thank you so much for inspiring me, Madeline. Young people come and look at what I'm doing. Perhaps we can influence with the right information, the right things, by being first an example, right? Madeline mentioned, you look at yourself being a volunteer. We've all been volunteering for quite some time now, and we're still volunteering. Volunteering is at heart. I want us to leave a couple of thoughts, maybe looking ahead, right? After the AYGCC. We've said a lot. There are a few pointers that I'm sure you have picked, some nice wisdom, wise sayings, or no, not wise sayings. These are practical sayings, right, from Madeline. And she's an example, right? Modi, what should we expect after this event? Looking ahead, what can we expect after this?
Yes.
And then we will just move into the next
thank you.
set of discussion.
So after this event, we are looking to have more partnerships with various organizations to advance this gender and climate action agenda we are proposing out there. So like I mentioned earlier, ASU coming on board, we are expecting to host various workshops and programs in various communities, various institutions, and even we are looking to advance outside Ghana because it says African Youth Gender and Climate Conference.
Yes.
We are looking to go outside the shores of Ghana. But firstly, we are more focused in Ghana here, and then creating hubs in various regions as well. And we are also looking to propose funding initiatives because we have seen that how funding is affecting our work negatively if you don't have funding. So we are looking to create that platform where we can have access to funding and then bring various organizations on board. Yes.
We have a mess. We have a Miss Ni Bekele Aye Amu the second. Ni Boke. Boke. Thank you. Boke Aye Amu the second. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence. So please, you may resume our seats. Thank you. Please, let's give it up. Let's give a clap. So, Nadine, we're already standing. So maybe let's do this. We're saying something about collaboration, more engagement, more partnership. Maybe let's give one line, inspiring something, and then we can transition into the next.
Okay, so lastly, I'd like to call on organizations or institutions. We are open to partner to host the next conference and other initiatives that we are taking in the course of the end of this year and then next year. So please, your doors are open. And for the leaders also, when we come, we see that the chiefs are here. When we knock on your doors, we young people, we are ready to take initiatives. So please, we are privileged to have you here, and we know that because you believe in us, that's why we are here. So we pray that you continue to support us when we call on your doors. Thank you.
We will do this real quick since we have the presence of me, Bokele, I'm not going to miss this again. Me, Bokete, Oye Emu. I want to speak down, but I'm not getting there. It's not coming. But since we have the presence of the paramount rep of the king of the Accra traditional area, this whole land, right? We have the rep with us. Please help me welcome New Bokete Emu, the second, to share solidarity with us, and then we transition to the next solidarity message from there. Thank you.
Good morning. I go. This is a short message from His Excellency King Taki Taikochuru to the youth. Distinguished guests, young ladies, young leaders, on behalf of His Royal Majesty King Taki Taikochuru II, the Gamanche, I bring you greetings and his unwavering support for this transformative gathering. The theme, Resilient Africa, Youth-Led Innovation for Climate Action and Gender Equity, reflect the heart of His Majesty's vision, a future where young leaders like you boldly step forward to secure Africa's sustainability and equity. His Majesty believes that tradition is a bridge, not a wall. It connects ancestral wisdom to modern solutions. As custodians of heritage, we know that the challenges of climate change and inequity require innovative, inclusive solutions powered by youthful energy and community spirit. You, the youth of Africa, are not just the future. You are the force of today. Your ideas, passions, and courage are reshaping our continent. His Majesty call on you to continue building a legacy of innovation, equality, and environmental stewardship that inspire generations. The Grand State stands with you. Let us work together to build a resilient Africa rooted in tradition, led by innovation and united purpose. This is a short message from the Royal Majesty to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just hurt my leg. Thank you very much for that wonderful message. We're so grateful to have you here in our midst. We have a small cultural display from our students. So they're going to walk in now. Please help me welcome a dance crew from the schools that we have invited here. So they've assembled together to perform for us. Let's clap for them as they come. Hello. Good morning. Yes, we have a short display from our students from Kitasi MA Basic School. We have the view that when you go to the United Nations website, there's a report there that since 1980s, the activities of human beings or men and women have contributed to the devastation nature of the climate that we are talking about here. So we want to just show a little display that before the climate change, before the rise in temperature of the climate, life was beautiful and got to a stage that our activities have also influenced the climate negatively. And when it affects the climate, it affects life. So I believe that when it comes to tackling the issue of climate change, it is a matter of war. We need to wage war on anything that has to do with anything that can also affect our life negatively. So there's an aspect of it that we see warriors coming on stage to also wage especially message against the climate change activities that we should put ourselves to. Then at the end of the whole episode is that if we are able to come together to speak this issue and let's say we also turn back the way it's before 1980s. So let's enjoy our episode. Thank you. Boy. Wow. Please let's give it up again. Amazing performance. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us a narrative and allowing us to appreciate the context of this performance. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for them again. Let's clap for them. Moving time. All right. So there we go. I'm going to need the help of our volunteers again. Our next session is a conversation. So I'm moving into a first panel discussion, and there's an amazing lady to facilitate or moderate the conversation. Okay. So the next panel, our next is going to be focusing on the role of education, in fostering climate action and gender equity among African youth. The role of education in fostering climate action and gender equity among African youth. As you saw right here being displayed, our young people have shown some sort of finesse. They've shown us their creativity, they've shown us their strength, and the message is clear. It's all about the spirit of war, an actionable approach to address climate challenges. So the person to actually facilitate the conversation is an amazing lady, and her name is very beautiful. She's by the name Dora Mintero Do. I told you it's a beautiful name. Dora Mintero Do. She's a dynamic force in youth advocacy and cultural expression as a trained health personnel and passionate advocate for positive development and she brings a unique blend of healthcare insights and artistic expression to her role. So there you have it. I mean, after an artistic flow, creativity, you have someone who has an artistic blend to her profession as a health personnel. So now for her compelling performance as a writer and performing poet. So she's also a poet. You're going to give us the poetry after your moderation. So Dora represented the Upper West region in Ghana's most beautiful in 2021. I told you. Her commitment to value-based leadership and continuous learning makes her an ideal facilitator for the discussion on climate and education. So help me welcome Dora Mentor Dillon, who's going to lead us in the discussion. She's going to introduce her panel. There you have it. She's Ghana's most beautiful.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here, and it's an honor to handle this session of the event, which is on the panel discussion. So, may I take my seat, if you don't mind? Thank you. Okay, so with your permission, should I say Your Royal Highness, I would like to invite my panelists for the discussion. Sure. So our first panelist is in the person of Dr. Yao Ajiman Boafo. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so Dr. Yao Ajimambo, he is he employs participatory methodologies to conduct solution-oriented research, aiming to generate outcomes that challenge stakeholders, including local communities, policymakers, design and implement practical transformative resilience strategies. Over the past decade, he has actively conducted assessments at various levels, national, regional, and district levels, and engaged multiple stakeholders to gather information on the actual and sorry about that. I've just been noted that he's not here. I was hoping that he will show up, and unfortunately he's not here yet, but we are hoping that he will join us soon. Okay, so on that note, I would move to this time. I have to see the person before I start to talk about them. So on that note, I will move to Mrs. Aziz. Okay, yeah, come on. So to know about Mrs. Aziz, she is passionate about supporting young women in pursuing careers in waste and helping small businesses owners build systems of success. She holds a bachelor's in communications from Jackson State University in Mississippi and a master's degree in public administration from Bowie State in Maryland, both located in the United States. So Mrs. Aziz, she is a founder of Environment 360, a social enterprise that seeks to support the development of circular economies in rural and urban areas. The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation has credited Environment 360 with developing Evolve, the first successful community collection scheme for plastics. In the year 2024, Environment 360 plastic facilities were registered with Vera, making it one of two organizations in West Africa to achieve Vera registration. Mrs. has over a decade experience in plastic waste management in West Africa and is recognized internationally for her work with informal sector plastic collectors, also known as waste pickers. So that is Mrs. Aziz. Please, you're welcome. Next is Dr. Ferdinand Pony. He's not okay. So our final panelist is in the person of Miss what's her name? Miss Kezia Sikataksin. I like her name. I'm sure a lot of us saw her when she came to represent her group. When I saw her, I was like, oh, this girl is so she spoke very well, and I'm not surprised to have her here again. Miss Kezia, you're welcome. So she is the head girl, right? Okay, so the head girl for Accra Wesley Girls High School, and she offers general arts. So I'm sure she'll be giving us some revisions from those of us who went to high schools. So you're welcome. It would have been a privilege to have Dr. Ajuman here, but unfortunately, he is on the way. We are hoping that as discussion is going on, we would have him. So all protocol observed, we would like to kickstart with our discussion. So Mrs. Kwedi Aziz, can you please give us a brief introduction of yourself and how related you are, your career, your personality, the topic and the purpose of which we are here.
So, good morning, Your Royal Highness, all protocols observed. As mentioned, I'm Cordy Aziz. I'm the founder of Environment 360. Environment 360 is unique because we were actually the first within the plastic sector to really organize community collection. In case you don't know, plastic collection in most developing countries is mainly done within the informal sector. More than 50% is actually collected by informal sector. But when you look at plastic waste, it mainly focuses on people known as waste pickers. So I'm sure we all know one old lady that maybe collects water sachet in our neighborhood or collects bottles. Environment 360 was the first organization that actually moved it from informal sector to a more formalized collection with residential homes through our program Evolve. 2017 through 2019, we actually worked with GIZ to run a variety of business test case models for how to incorporate informal sector into formalized waste systems. This also led to the creation of our first sorting center, which is located in Tema, called the Pickett Sorting Center, which specializes in training and supporting waste pickers within the Tema community Newtown area in gaining business skills and access to a stable market for the plastics they collect. As mentioned, we were the first plastic facility in West Africa registered on Vera. In case you're not aware of what Vera is a standard that has been set up by a global organization that essentially certifies your activities so that you can actually trade credits, environmental credits on the international market. So in our case, we actually trade plastic credits on the international market. And how that works is we get paid locally for what we recycle, but then we also are able to sell that same ton to an international organization that wants to offset its environmental impact. So we typically sell our plastic credits through our broker. Environment 360 also recently opened up a green complex in Dodowa, and that complex is more for the focus of educational workshops and tours that support the development of sustainable behaviors. So we do everything from tours, we do everything from sustainable agriculture, textile waste, coconut waste. So it really sort of gives individuals an opportunity to see how different waste streams that we have in abundance here in Ghana can actually reuse by community innovation within youth, women, and as well as corporate organizations as well. So this is we've been passionate about. For the longest time, we were actually the only formalized organization that collected on a large scale until maybe 3 or 4 years into our history. But we did just celebrate our 10th year, so we're very excited to be here, very excited to support this particular conference, and really glad to see so many youth, particularly young women, that are also really up and coming in their climate careers.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so Miss Kezia, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Are you happy to be here?
Yes.
Have you learned, something new since you came?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so
and how, your journey as a student, as a head girl, and the purpose of which we are here today.
I am Kezia Sika Texan, the head girl of Accra Wesley Girls High School. And then I am very happy to be here, seeing all these big people. Okay.
A lot of big people.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so I was very happy when I saw the theme, especially the gender inequality, because I find myself in an all-girls school, which I'm very happy about. And then I am particular about gender inequality because I want to become a lawyer who would own a foundation, an all-girls foundation, and then empower girls to become better people for themselves. Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's a big dream over there, and I believe that you have a full room of people who would ensure that this dream becomes a reality. You're welcome, Miss Kezia. Fortunately, on our part, we have Dr. Ferdinand. Am I right? Say you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And sorry for the traffic, and then I got missing.
It's fine. I'm sure that with permission from the Royals, you're pardoned.
Thank you.
Is he pardoned? Okay, so you're pardoned. Okay, you're welcome. We are so privileged to have you and to have you share your expertise with us. But before I come back to you, I'd like to let your audience or the people that are listening to you know who you are, who knows supposed to listen to you much better.
All right.
So this is Dr. Ferdinand Pony. He is a research fellow at the United Nations University Institute of Natural Resources in Africa. Prior to joining the United Nations University Institute of Natural Resources in Africa, he has more than a decade of experience as a research scientist with Council for Scientific Industrial Research Institute of Industrial Research. While he was at the Industrial Research Institute of Industrial Research Ghana, he served as the head of the Regional Cook Stove Testing and Knowledge Center, a center with.
Probably I can do it in just 1 minute.
Okay, sure, because this is actually very long. I was reading, I was like,
I'm Ferdinand Pony. I'm currently a research fellow at the United Nations University Institute for Natural Resources in Africa. I know a lot of people are not aware that the United Nations have a university. There are about 14 institutes globally. There is only one located in Africa, headquarters in Ghana. That is where I work. And then before, I was working with Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And currently, my work is around energy transition, gender, and then also I have technical expertise in how you test clean technologies in terms of cook stoves, in terms of renewable energy, and then yes, with some ISO background, I mean international ISO background. So yeah, I think that is fine. Thank you.
Okay, so I from what I see, I think that's actually denied a lot of information, but it's okay. It's okay. Maybe as time goes on, we'll get opportunity to ask you questions, and what needs to be known will be known. Okay, so Dr. Ferdinand, we would like to as you've given us a brief information already, but I'd like to know how your expertise, your experiences, your in-depth knowledge is related to the purpose of which we are here today.
All right. So thank you very much. I think from the background I'm coming from, the United Nations University, and with some current projects that we have been doing, the team is one of the teams that resonates so much with us. For the past 1.5 weeks, we were even at COP and having discussion on this same gender and then energy transition and even equity. So talking about education, the United Nations University, as the name university will bring to mind education. But we approach education from various angles. We are not looking at education as the only formal education. We are also talking about education at the various levels. You know, we've been talking about this climate change at the global levels. Those are big visions on the big platforms like COP, like other platforms. But how to bring this down to local actions are the big issues. So we ask ourselves, do people really understand what is climate change? Yes, those who go through the formal education and do something relating to science would understand what climate change are. So for us, we train both postgraduates, making sure that we understand the whole issues around climate change and those who are most impacted, like women and the vulnerable. And then when it comes to, when we look at that higher level, where we have PhD students trying to train them, and that training must be tailored towards the current trend. Formerly we would have to define universities as building, but now we have virtual universities. For us at UNU Global, we have a lot of year that will provide education up to even PhD levels. So,
All virtual?
yes, you have time to spend some time with supervisors or maybe if you haven't, you go for the field work to be able to collect your data. But I'm trying to paint the picture that when we talk about education, we can do that in the comfort of our homes, especially when we are talking about women, because women have a lot to do than let me not say than men, but women have a lot of jobs that they do that we don't notice.
Yeah.
The unpaid care work that they do. They have this morning, I know very well that those who are here have taken some breakfast. Probably in your home, not many men have helped the kids take their bath before going to school, but those ones are unnoticed. We'll calculate the woman's input from when he reached the office, pick the file, and to the other. But you've forgotten about what she did in the morning, trying to keep the case, prepare the case for school. So you need to make education in a format that they can even access it when they are even home. That can be so easy for them to also be able to take care of the family, at the same time also participate as the men would do. So probably let me pause there. I know you'll come back later on.
Yeah, that's fine. That's actually, before I go ahead, I would like to find out, those at the back, can you hear? You heard everything he said? Okay. Thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. We are here to share information, to educate ourselves, to tap into each other's knowledge. And I'd like to give us a quote that is driven from the importance of education. And it goes this way: do not just crave to free a slave. We are talking about climate change and ensuring that people are educated. So he said that do not just crave to free a slave. Ask if they have somewhere to go, if they ever thought of it, if they have a God they can believe and will believe is with them when they obtain freedom. So this is basically, giving us an insight that obtaining education, we should ask ourselves, are we going to put this knowledge that we are taking in drawing here into action when we leave this place? Okay, so our next question would be going to since Dr. Ferdinand just finished, let me go to Mrs. Aziz. What are the most pressing climate change and gender equity issues facing African youth today? The most pressing.
So I think this is a really complicated question. And I think it goes back to what Madeline was saying earlier. Many of the environmental issues you have are actually interlinked, right? So when you say what is the most pressing, it's very difficult to categorize because they're all pressing at this point, right? Of course, you have in Accra plastic pollution, but plastic pollution also impacts the blue economy, our fishing economy. 70% of the population of Ghana actually lives along the coastline. So when you look at the number of people that are involved in the fishing economy, from fishermen to the fishmongers, to the people at Timber Harbor, it's actually quite expansive. In fact, then when you look at agriculture, it's had a tremendous impact on agriculture in the north. You get herdsmen and other people complaining that their animals are randomly dying. When you do exams, it's basically because they've eaten plastic, which essentially fills their stomach, and the animal essentially dies of starvation. When you look at plastic pollution as well, when you go back to it, it also impacts open burning, right? Because we don't have sustainable collection in most of our poor or rural areas. So if you live in a very affluent area in Accra, you don't have an issue with waste collection. But if you live in a lower middle class, very urban, very rural area, you don't have access to waste collection. So most people are burning, but most of the things they're burning are toxic, right? And the unfortunate thing about it's sort of like the sea, the air belongs to everyone, right? So what I do impacts everybody in the room. So everybody can decide not to burn their trash, but if 5 of us decide to burn our trash, it still impacts everyone in the room, right? So I think that because the issues are so interlinked, it's very hard to categorize. I think that one thing is very critical is that people are participating in some sort of action or advocacy. So I would say that that's probably the highest priority. I love workshops and other things where people talk, but I was excited to hear that maybe next year there'll be more interactive sessions or hands-on sessions. And that's because I think we get used to talking about the issue. COP, all of these things are very great. Paris climates, they're magnificent. They do provide great networking. They allow you to have a platform where people can see what you're doing on a global level, but the action that comes out of that is still quite small. So I think that we really need to be focused on more action and a little bit less of the talking. I think that that's actually probably the most pressing issue, is that we're talking too much. When it comes to women, I'm happy to see that more women are really moving into the waste space or the climate space. Environment 360 has been, for the longest time, the only woman organization within the waste sector. A few joined us maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But one thing I think that it is important for young women to realize is that this work, there is a physical aspect to it. I think a lot of times we look at the research component, we look at going to the programs component, but if you really want to be a change agent, there is some physical activity that goes with that. One thing I can say is so we've diversified into activities, but plastic collection is still our main activity. One thing I want to encourage young women is prepare yourself for the physical aspects of the work and working with people that you probably would never encounter, right? People to the field to like organize plastic or like the people. I've learned young women aren't fit for the work. They're not fit for the one, it seems like there's going to be some conflict. They instantly shy away. They don't know how to sort of hold their ground. I think that's just a variety of gender dynamics in society. So start equipping yourself to be a little bit more emotionally. I think also walk long distances, lift things. As you mentioned, most of the work I think women are used to doing is domestic. A little bit about mechanics. Sometimes you need to learn how to work tools. These are actually going to be the critical skills that you need to participate in climate change. If you notice now, when you look at most of the opportunities in the green sector, a lot of it is around TVET education. You're going to need technical skills because AI is actually replacing you. You haven't realized it yet, but you're actually being replaced by AI. So whenever you use Chat GPT to generate your essays or conversations, it's literally learning how you think. So your thinking ability is not going to be unique anymore, but your technical skills, knowing how to use a saw, knowing how to build a solar panel, being able to walk long distances and negotiate with people, being able to lift more than 25 kg. These are going to be the things that really get you ahead.
Wow. I really feel that when she takes a lot of people into the field, then that is where she realized that we are just talking, but we are actually not ready for what we. That got to me because that's very practical. I think I've had of that. A lot of us find it so beautiful that we are here in the best of our clothes, and when we plastics, that's where you see the reality. That's actually where the real climate change advocacy is, not just here. Okay, thank you so much. I'll come back to you, Mrs. Aziz. But before then, I will want to go to our head girl, so she doesn't get lost. Her mind is almost out of here. Hi, Kezia.
Hi.
Okay, so I'd like to have you share your mind with us. How can we address it? No. What are your personal experiences with climate change and gender inequality in your community? Where do you live?
Kaswa.
Oh, nice. As it is into this room, and then share your personal experiences with us. Go ahead.
Okay, so my personal and then gender inequality, it's something we normally see, something that's happening in Accra now. We are now experiencing very low rainfall, and then we have this erratic weather patterns. We do not know when it's going to rain anymore. Back then we knew that during maybe June, July, the rain would be coming in, and then during November we have this Hamatan season, but not anymore. We are in November, and then the sun is very hot, and things are very different now. Yeah. And then with the gender inequality, I think it happens in most homes now. Yes, you have your little brother or other brother using his phone or learning, and then mommy just calls you into the kitchen. Won't she help me? Then you just sometimes I just ask my mom, okay, but you saw my brother. Then she'll just say, yeah, you are the lady, you would be getting married, you would have to do all the chores. And then I just say, okay, but we were both doing the same thing. What about him? He also get married, right? Yeah. So it's something very normal in most homes now. And then we ladies have a lot of responsibilities in the house now, fetching water, cooking, cleaning. It's too much for us ladies now. Yeah.
Oh, it's too much. It's too much. She just said it confident. It's too much. No, we actually think being a man is hard, but trust me, like today, we have to come to a realization that being a woman is a lot. It's a lot because, like, our doctor said, when you wake up, we all woke up at 4 a.m. Somebody has to do a whole lot before they still come and wear the suit. And maybe somebody just has to just go into the washroom and bath and just still wear the suit. And the same level of productivity is expected at the end of the day. And I think these discussions are very, very awakening. That was very powerful, Kezia. Very, very powerful. And I look forward to seeing you at the Supreme, was in the Supreme Court, right? Be speaking for young people and women. Brilliant. Okay, so now we come back to Dr. Ferdinand. How can these findings be? No, let me give you this one. What are the latest scientific findings on the impact of climate change in African communities, particularly women and girls? You are the researcher here, so tell us the latest.
Yeah, probably I'm not going to go into the figures. Sharing experience is even more impactful than mentioning figures that we also have various figures that move around. So probably I should say the impact is very great. we are currently even beginning to identify that the impact is cutting across various sectors. So formally, we're thinking about climate change as an issue that have to do with sectors like ministries like Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy, but now it is cut across all sectors. Employment, climate change is affecting employment. In terms of security, climate change is affecting security because there's a whole lot around climate diplomacy and even border issues. When in Ghana, the very simple one we know is you see the Fulanis, they'll be coming in soon. And then you find Ghanaians trying to say, no, they are coming to destroy our farms. And you may not know it's a climate change issue. There's drought, they need to still keep your animals. So they have crossed your border. There will be security issues you have to deal with. So there are a lot of sectors that we can find it. I would love to go practical, more practical than maybe mentioning the figures. I'll do that in the academic classroom or something like that. So let me say that the impact is felt everywhere. So currently, a month ago, we linking this to our education. A month ago, we ran a summer school that is called Nature Lead. And Nature Lead is looking at bringing all stakeholders from West Africa to be able to put them into the light of how the measures of climate change, natural resources, and then diplomacy works. So it will surprise you to know that in that technical course, we have people from the legal aid. We have people from national security. Because when you go to all these agencies, they now have desks that take care of that. So the impact of climate change is being felt, and everybody is involved. Let me touch on something Madam Aziz, right? You mentioned we need different skills to be able to participate in this whole low carbon economy. If we continue training our students, both formally and informally, the same way we do some years back, we would be missing out in the low carbon economy. For example, we have a project that is running in 2 African countries currently that I coordinate. It's called Innovate for Clean Agricultural Technologies, InfoCat in short. And we have some funds from IDRC trying to give to young women entrepreneurs who are able to design agricultural machines that will be powered by renewable energy to help their fellow women who spend a lot of time doing very simple things in the farm so that they can use those machines, finish something they would have been doing the whole day in just 1 hour, get back home and take care of the house and still get that productivity. But the surprise is that we sent the call out. In Ghana, we were expecting about some 1,000 applications. We only got about 86 applications. The women among them are just about less than 10%. But for the gender sake, we went out again to look for them. So on a different panel, I was saying that women must be looked for. You go to various organizations, you think women should be the head. If you are not the head, look for them. They may be in middle management. They may be in the workshops. They must be looked for, empowered, so that they can climb the ladder. So for us, one of the lessons we learned in that was to say that we have a career to say that women-led businesses. You won't find them much. But rather you find women who are doing marketing in these green entrepreneurship businesses, women who are more of accounts. Yes, they must be brought up. The fact that you own a business doesn't mean you are a technical person. So they must be brought from that level up. So that is the role education must play in terms of how we solve these climate change issues. For example, if she's talking about waste, the impact is great. This year, about 2 months ago, we saw how it was getting difficult in the northern part of the country, where farmers had their maize growing within some few weeks, and the rules are not coming in, and it becomes so difficult for them to receive their name. We have a setup. I'm trying to just paint a picture of the impact. We have a setup in the northern region and Burkina Faso, a setup called the covariance station, monitoring emissions, like methane emissions, monitoring carbon dioxide and water precipitation and stuff like that, to help farmers to be able to predict and then plant. Unfortunately, one of our setup in a rice farm, we couldn't collect data this year. You know why? The rains failed, so the farmers didn't grow rice, so no data for us. The normal rain they would have received the quantum they would need to be able to set up the farm for our experiment, to even have enough data to be able to predict and help farmers. We couldn't get data from our rice field, and those are some of the impacts. So it is
What happened to the rice? They didn't.
They grow rice in other parts, but where we position our station to be able to collect data, the rains failed them.
Wow, these are actually very practical, because you and I are waiting to go to the market and buy rice. So, like, if you go in and they tell you that the price has increased, it's coming from here.
Yeah.
These are actually very, very practical information that we are getting.
Sure. So, to end on this, look, if the soft skills come and we said, no, we should share equally with men, let's prepare for the hard skills and also share with the men. You can't afford to be asking for the soft skills all the time and living. When we talk about equality, then it should be a fair game. But if one is lacking, then we must be able to push them to come up, but not to remove some of the rules from the game.
Yeah, and I actually just want to add to this. So I can never stress on this enough. Fortunately, my father's from Sierra Leone, but my mother's American. And fortunately, my mother knew how to do everything, from car work to yard work to everything. And it's something that she passed down. And one of the things I can say is we actually have a maker shop at our Dodoa complex. And we still have the hand pull generator. And one of the things is I employ majority of women. Every woman has to know how to start the generator because there's one man on campus. You have to know how to troubleshoot what's going on with the generator. It extends into my maker shop. Everybody has to be able to use the power tools. Everybody has to be able to use the plastic injection mold machines. I agree with you that women continually shy away from this. When given the opportunity to work with technology. So for me, when you say you were looking for women that wanted to build agriculture machines and you can't find, I would believe it. Because most women, even if you ask them to look at CAD designing or drawing, because it's computer based, they're not so interested in it, right? You have a very few women that really have the next level of technical skills. So even when you talk about, about how to design, and you're like, okay, so let's make a prototype. Even you will see that they are more likely to try to go find a guy to help them build the prototype than for them to try to do it themselves. This is something I continually see in young women. You have to be serious with your skill set. And as he mentioned, nobody cares how well you talk. Nobody cares about you being in a dress and being pretty. Those things really only get you so far in life. It is the technical skills. In my gamut of work, I do everything on the field. I lift mosquito nets. I load the truck. I negotiate with truck drivers. I have to go sometimes, and if we have an issue with the toilets and the plumber is low, I have to go and figure out what's happening. I do some of the basic electricals at the factory. Like, if you are continually depending on the other sex to do it for you, you are going to fail. And it comes back to what you were saying. Like, I'm sure if your father told you to get up and cut the lawn, you'd be like, oh, but how can I go out and weed? But why can't you go out and weed? So I think that young women need to realize, as much as you hate domestic duties, you also need to build some strength. Start lifting weights. Go to the gym. Learn to run long distances. These things are not just for boys, okay? Hi, ladies. Who's having the most? Are we hearing this?
So don't just limit yourself to grinding pepper. Go and learn how to start a generator. And when you get learn how to lift it, take it to the gas room and fill it out. Wow, this is like a factory setting, huh? Yeah, we this conversation is ushering us beyond just the topic of climate change. It's like an everyday, and I think that our everyday lifestyle brought us to the conversation of climate change, right? So another new invention of an everyday lifestyle would help us to bring some solutions to climate change. I mean, if you want to create a problem, you should learn how to work in another way to solve it. And I think this has been very, very insightful. Casey, I'll come back to you. But before then, I want to hear from Dr. Ferdinand again. This one is talking about how can these findings be effectively communicated to young people? This question is very, very important. Young people, these findings that you're talking about, giving us updates about what's happening on the field, data not being collected, or even the ones that, I mean, I'm just getting to know that there's a period in which the Fulani people are going to flood our privacy. I didn't even know that, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that. There's a period they come in, and they're not coming because they want to come and harm us. They're also running in for their safety. That's very interesting. How do we communicate these things to young people?
Okay. So we can employ a lot of technologies. The last time I was at the Africa Climate Week, and the young people were given the podium to talk. They said, give us the technology and we'll give you the solutions to climate change. So young people love to have technology. It is difficult of late that is why our classrooms are even moving to digital boards. If you write with a chalk, I promise you would have a lot of people in the class and they can't see that writing, but you see it alone because it doesn't attract them. So for us, to package information, climate information, and give back to society to use, there should be innovation around it. We employ a lot of the digital platform like the social media platform. For us, we also built a platform for young people, which is called Just Energy Transition in the Informal Sector, where it have a social, we put data there. We collect data, put data there, and then also it's a platform for young people to market their innovations.
How accessible is it?
It is accessible, Justice platform. So on that platform, we identify that to make it lovely, a lot of young people don't go to websites. They want to go to the social platform. So one way or the other, to get them to read what is there, we created a social interface of it that you could chat people and then have conversations. Those are some of the innovative ways you should be able to.
Yeah.
Any avenue you want to use digitally to communicate.
There are actually a lot of young people here, so I would be very glad if you can just be specific so they can.
Social media is one of the avenues.
Okay.
Yes, social media is one of them. But I was just trying to make the point that if we do research, if we do our various development projects, and we want to get it to the young people, to the public, it must come with a bit of fun. And fun is found on the social platforms. So don't get stuck to the traditional website format. Number two, the old people in the village must know.
Okay.
The farmers must know. For us, for you to move the local people in the village who have not had any formal education to listen to climate change issues, you must be able to come to their level. I have one PhD student who is doing something on climate indicators, indigenous climate indicators. So his PhD work is looking at coming through the country, looking at how do traditional authorities, how do local people even talk about climate change when we are not even using that word climate change? And how are they predicting their weather to be able to even plan, for their life? So for the results, you'll be having things like,
in our community, if you see this bird at this time of the year, it means that the rain is going to delay. These birds don't come out this time. If you see a millipede at this time of the year, the rains are going to set in soon. They have their own ways that they use to talk about climate change and issues. And we try to pick that indigenous knowledge, validate it with science, which is geospatial science, using climate data to say that, okay, they predicted that last year we saw ABCD, animal or weather or whatever, and the rains delayed. We validate it with science to see what happened last year. Then we try to model it and then give it back to the community. So on 18th and 19th and 20th, we are going to give back whatever research, what we collected for them, to validate some of them and then align some of them so that they don't get it wrong when they are predicting. What am I saying? If you continue to speak the jargons, it will be difficult to communicate to them. They already know what we are talking about. You need to go down, get what they know, try to help them with science, and then they are because they are practicing it already. It's easy for them to adopt it. Those are some of the ways we can be able to communicate. And then let's use art. For you and you, any program, anyone who has attended our programs before, there is always an opening for. I saw some guys driving there. I hope they came for a program.
Yes.
What about if you have a discussion with these guys? They may not be thinking in your climate change. They come here and they are drumming. Through their drum, they are doing an act that is communicating something we want to even talk about here. So, for example, we are in our program. There are spoken words, and when those guys we deal with who are from the art sector, when they stand here and speak, the room becomes so quiet. You feel so guilty what you have done to Mother Nature. And they are good at that. It's past a lot of message than whatever speech we come to read. So those are some of the innovative way and then I'm happy to see young students, young people coming from various schools. We don't do program without inviting people from the junior high school. I was having a discussion with our comms team that, look, next year I want you to run a program that would be some innovation program that would award people from primary up to GHS, up to senior high school, just to motivate them. Let them run something on how do you communicate in climate change. Come out with a project. Get some. If the best would read something for his school to maybe do some climate change program. That is very important. Let me land on this one. We need to work with traditional authorities. Look, they are
Partnership.
Yes, they are the custodians of the environment. I came back from Chebi last night. There is a project we're doing with all the UN agencies called Forest Optima. It's looking at reforestation, looking at how do we hand over the management of natural resources back to the traditional authorities. So we are doing this through a human security approach. If you tell people to stop galamsey, they will say, we need to eat. So how do you provide job for them? So the approach is human security approach. How do you help them with their health issues? How do you help them with their education issues? So that they are able to feel comfortable. Look, for us conserving this environment, trying not to destroy the environment, there are benefits that are coming from education for us. There are benefits that are coming from health. So we need to put more effort. So there's a model called the Kramer model, where we develop bylaw with the traditional authorities, involve them. The old things that they tell you don't go to the farmer this time is back through the Kramer model in an act called Act 1115 of the Wildlife Division. It is an act that was last year, which gives power. You develop a bylaw in the district assembly that gives power to the local authorities to be able to be the custodians of resource management in the community. And that power is so huge that there's a certificate of devolution from the president to say that they can manage and process people for court. When they bring you to the palace for digging and then polluting water and you misbehave, the law is already there. Take him to court, punish him. And that is the partnership we need to have with traditional authority before we can manage our natural resource, because they are the custodians of it. Thank you.
Wow, I wish we had a lot of time to enjoy more of this discussion, because personally I am learning a lot. I would like to give Kezia her last question. So, Kezia, what action have you taken, having been educated about climate change? What action have you taken, are you taking, or will take to make an impact using climate change and gender equity?
Okay, so I wouldn't say I have taken any specific actions yet, but with the basic things, once I know that improper waste management causes these climate changes, I know that when someone drops something, I just tell the person, do you know why there are no rainfalls in Ghana now? It's because you just dropped this. So pick it up and dispose it off properly. Yes. And then with gender equality, I am hoping to maybe one day make a group in my school, just ladies. My school is just an all school girl, so we just make a group and then we motivate each other to become better people for ourselves and for the future of Ghana. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we're looking forward to feedback and see you actually implementing these dreams of yours. Mrs. Aziz, the questions are yet to, but time is not really so much friendly to us right now. But I still want to hear from you, because I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure it's not just me. There are lots of are we accepting questions from the audience? Three. Okay. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to ask a question, who would like to receive at least 2 or 3 questions from the audience? There's a lot more that they have for us, but time is actually not on our side. If you have the program outline, look at the time. It's like we are getting behind. So if you have any question based on, okay, sure.
Thank you so much. My name is Yara, and this question is for Mrs. Aziz. So, once you know the women you take to the field are not able to do a specific work because they lack in the skills, what do you do about that? Do you empower them? Do you ask them to go and come back?
So this is an interesting question. Once again, the majority of the people that work for me are women. In my organization, I have found people that do not have traditional education work better for us. I have found this because when you encourage young women sometimes to go outside of the box, they're not willing to do it, right? And when you are learning anything in life, it's about your own personal will. It is about your own personal will, right? So if someone is paying your school fees and you decide you're just not going to read your book, nobody can force you to read your book. If you know you are coming and taking your examinations and you decide not to study, people can ask you to do it 1,001 times. But if you decide not to study, you won't study. So what I've found is that a lot of times it comes down to personal will. We have one young girl that's working on a coconut project. She's on top of her game because she understands I like to lead by example, right? So I like people to understand that what I'm asking you to do, it is not impossible for a woman to do, right? So typically I will actually show you that I will go and do the work myself and show you it is not an impossible thing I'm asking you to do. I've actually had 3 children in 5 years, so a lot of the work that I've actually done while I was pregnant in the past 3.5 years. So even I've shown you that even when you're carrying a child, this work is not unusual work for a woman to do. However, A lot of women just are not willing to do it. But the one girl, however, we were having an issue with the coconut husk machine. She quickly figured out that, okay, she just needs some way to apply some pressure. She decided to get a 2x4, puts it on the top so that it applied the proper pressure for her to dehusk the coconut, right? A lot of young ladies would have come in and said, it's not working for me. And then when you would have said, okay, so what solutions have you tried? Like, what have you done to figure it out? Oh, I don't know. When I put the coconut in, it just comes out. They haven't even thought about thinking through how the machine works. What is the actual problem? Their next step, typically after they see, because I have a general rule in my office, I don't give feedback to people. I can help you, I can give feedback on your solutions, but I don't give people solutions. That is my general rule for anybody that works in my office. So then when they say I'm not going to give them a solution, the next thing they do is they will go to the guy in the workshop. And then they will start talking to the guy in the workshop about the issue. Before you realize that the lady is sitting down somewhere chatting with her colleague, while the gentleman is over here trying to figure out her problem. So it's not only the fact that you realize you have a problem, but even when someone is coming to solve it for you, instead of you standing over the shoulder and figuring out what is he doing, how is he doing it, she's sitting somewhere chatting. It's the same way that when electrician, plumbers, other people come into facilities sometimes, I'm like, so what was the work that was done? They're like, oh, I don't know. And I told them, how can you not know? Because if it is an issue, particularly we've had more than 1 or 2 times, my expectation is that when it happens a third time, you should know what it is and have some general way to fix it yourself, right? So this is what I'm saying. So I think if you do not have the personal will, if you feel like you can't lift weights, it's not a woman's work. It is okay. It is not your work. If you feel you can't learn a new skill with a power tool or to drill something, it's okay. It's not your work. I'm just saying that it really limits you when it comes to opportunities in the when it comes to the opportunity in the green economy, because now it is about innovation. It is about building machinery. So if you want to limit yourself to coming to programs like this and talking very nicely and dressing well, I don't have a problem with that. But I'm saying that if you plan on making money from the green economy, you must have some sort of technical skills. And when you look at the amount of money, this economy, I think the estimate is between 5 or 10 billion over the next 20 years. So if you want to tap into economic opportunity, you need technical skills. If you want to be employed by somebody at a menial level salary, then I think that talking, doing research is the way to go. But if you want to make serious money yourself, you need a technical skill.
Wow, that was actually like a nail right on its head. It's more of take it or leave it. So the choice is yours. And thank you very much, Mrs. Aziz. Before we continue with our discussion, it's been a privilege having the royals among us. And at this point, we would sorry. Sure. Okay. So to those who probably came in later, we had among us in our midst the presence of Name Bokete IEMU, who represented His Royal Majesty, the King of the Greater Accra region. They have been here for a while, and it's possible that this is not the only occasion they have for the day. They may have to grace other occasions, and they want to take a leave. Personally, I'm not very happy about it, but who am I? Who am I?
So with us showing honor to please the speakers here. Okay, Mr. Isaac Newton from the International Trade Center. And then we can also have Miss Natasha Dazi, Startup Discovery School. Okay, yeah. Operation. Let's try and straighten up this. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm so strong. Wow. Volunteerism. Women power. I like that. Okay, so I want to get quick feedback from the audience about the panel discussion. Quick insight. I know that we couldn't get all of you to share or to ask questions, but two people for quick thoughts regarding the insight, something that they learned from the panel discussion. I'm more interested in the students, right? Sounds like it's a good plan, right? Yeah. It's a good plan. It's like I'm putting you on the spotlight or trying to, it's just that you have sometimes to let you have that platform to get to express yourself, build confidence also. So, what is D-boy? D-boy. Anyway, I'll be very happy to hear from you. So, anybody, any quick reflections, thoughts? No case that was on the panel. She was wowing this Ado taking Accra West girls crowd. Please, anyone, don't be shy. Oh, great. Actually, wants to, I guess, you try to
Okay, so my name is Abdul Hakim, a graduate from KNUST, and I've learned a lot, and I've realized that ways through which we can try to solve climate change is not about we being educated, like going to school or something. We can also try to involve the illiterates and try to solve climate change together. Thank you very much.
But Kobe actually said something that was so striking, that if you want to build a business, a green enterprise that will make money, your technical skills are so key. So once you want to engage, start from the scratch, start anyhow, messy and all that, you still need to add skills, right? Love that. Yes. I want to get the name. Kimberly. Nice. The name is not Ghanaian.
Okay, I've actually learned a lot on what they said, but I'm also saying to make a change, you must also start with yourself.
Nice.
Before you go out there and educate the people on climate change, maybe you might be doing the same thing that causes this climate changes. So like when you start with yourself and you make the progress, when you go out there, you can put it to particles and you also educate them on that.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you. Fantastic. Last thought, and then we move into the next panel. Last thought. Oh, there's a guy. Oh, go ahead. Please, your name. You've mentioned already. Yaira. Oh.
So I should be ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I should be ready to do the physical aspects of the work and not just coming for the conferences and then going back home. And also be
That's amazing. You should be ready to work with people that on a normal day you won't work with. And then on your own, you also, wow, be on top of your game. I like that. I like being on top of your game. You're nodding to it. It sounds like very exciting, right? So you want to talk? This okay. Please share your thoughts also. You're learning. Wow.
The common things we do as also contribute to personal
Wow, you learned the industrial courses, now you've learned the domestic courses. That's powerful. Thank you so much. That's all time could afford. Okay, thank you all right. You can write it down. Maybe sometime in the course of the discussion would hear you. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for your audience. So the next morning discussion I'm privileged enough to be moderating that panel, and it's also going to be talking on the aspects of climate solution, more on climate solutions. So we are going to be diving deeper into the innovations, the actions that other people are currently, embarking on to address the climate crisis issues, right? The issues that are confronting us already. So the topic of that panel discussion is climate smart solutions and actions, innovations for sustainability. And I'll be doing the moderation. I have with me an amazing group of experts. These guys have been in the game for a very, very long time. They have diverse expertise. They're young, but they've been active in the space. If it's beyond 3 years to 5 years, it means they know something and they know a lot, right? So I have with me Patience Ajakum. Let's go for him. So the head of climate with the Strategic Youth Network for Development. And she's just coming back from Azerbaijan. No, I had to say that. Well, you know, I won't say it. I'll say it. So, because she's coming with so much expertise from the side of climate innovations and climate smart solutions, let me touch a bit on her work. So, strategic Youth Network for Development. Young people here, don't video me. Don't video me. Strategic Youth Network for Development. Also in Ghana. They've been in the space for a very long time, building the capacity of young people like you and I, and how we can be actively involved in the climate change, climate action phenomenon, right? From the advocacy side of things, adding on to policy actions, contributions to discussions, where they gather young people like you and I to go and represent or train negotiators to represent us at the climate conferences, right? So recently we had the COP29, where they had their climate negotiators going there to talk on our behalf, to engage the big men and for them to think on the bottom up level, right? Come first, localized solution for us to solve those hydra-headed problems. So thank you so much for the work you do. I have to give you your flowers there. It's very, very important. So the next person, I've been on the panel with him a couple of months ago, and he's doing something amazing on the side of IoT and biogas, things like that. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. He's by the name Samson Owusu-Bempah. He's a co-founder of Go Green Smart Biogas Technology. Thank you so much for joining us again, my brother. The next person is a bit within the ecosystem. When we talk about the ecosystem of entrepreneurship and innovation in Ghana, when you hear his name, you know that this guy is a big man. He's a big man. And he has a very, very popular name. His name is from the scientist, one of the greatest scientists of our time. And they've literally given him that name to be working in the shoes of that great scientist in a business sense, right? So help me welcome the national coordinator for the International Trade Center, ITC. He wears many hats. He'll tell us more about those stuff pretty soon. Isaac Newton joining us today. Amazing. Amazing. And then the last but not the least is a long-standing sister. I have been engaging her virtually as a sister, virtual. I mean, virtual, we have friends in the virtual world, right? But I was fortunate to have met her here, engaged and interacted with her. I felt like, hey, Natasha, you have to be on the panel. And she said, yes. I'm just spilling the beans so that you know how I got her involved in this. Natasha Dazi has experience building businesses, venture building activities, former Share Venture Lab. Now she's doing something great. She's going to talk to us more about it on the panel called the Startup Discovery School. It's a UK-based entity now. They are doing something in Ghana pretty soon. and we'll be delving deeper into that, how it connects through the environmental sustainability, governance issues, how it connects to climate smart solution, how we can all build those, fine line of synergy, collaboration, and all that. And maybe she's married. I'm not sure. But Natasha Dazi, help me welcome Natasha Dazi, who is going to be speaking to us on the side of the. I don't know if I should stand or I should sit, just like my dear sister. I should sit, or I should stand. If someone wants to punish me, I should stand here. No, it's not cute. I should sit. All right. Thank you so much. Please, this conversation is going to be interactive, and we'll be engaging you. Okay. And you see how I'm writing lyrical right now? I'm entering into my element. So I need you to be involved. I need you to pay attention. I need you to ask a lot of questions because this panel discussion is going to sound a bit technical, but we hope we can break it down to the level of the young people, right? So we'll be very friendly with our language. So I haven't given you a microphone. Please, you can hold mine. Maybe you can start. Okay, so patience with stuff. I think this guy, lose energy on this one. We need clarity for this. So, okay, we'll think about that solution. Introduction. Patience, what you do. I've said a bit of the highlights, right? Okay. But let's get practical. Okay. And then maybe you can give your first 2 cents on the topic.
Okay. Thank you very much. As Andrew has already mentioned, my name is Patience Ajikum, and I work with the Strategic Youth Network for Development as the head of climate change and policy program. So like he said, basically it's not just climate change. Our focus is young people's participation in the natural resource and environmental sector. And then you know that in Ghana, we have about 8 thematic areas under the natural resource and environmental sector. So how do we get young people's participation? Because I remember somewhere way back in 2019, when we were going to the rooms, we were told that this is not your space. It's too technical for you, and then young people can engage in this. So that's why we've been working then to ensure that we educate as many young people, partner with different institutions to ensure that we equip young people to be able to keenly participate in the global conversation and even the local conversations around sustainable natural resource management and so climate change, energy transition, and all of that. So basically, I manage the climate change programs there. And then also, I also lead the work that we do with the policymakers, like the Ministry of Environment, the EP, Ministry of Energy, and all the other ministries. Thank you.
Nice. Big one, isn't it?
Well, my take on the topic, I think it's spot on that when we have, because when I saw the audience, I was like, yeah, of course, what we need to talk about. Because, for example, I'm just coming from a meeting and there were that like skills that young people need, because it's a Swiss NGO, and then their work is of like to know how they can participate in the green economy. And she was saying that, for example, their approach is to work with like well-established institutions like Wahoo, like Solar Taxi, and the rest. So, what are the other gaps? Also, like others that go in different communities and have like some kind of trainings for young people and for different people for them to. First of all, I get it that the topic is too much. But this whole conversation about green economy sometimes is so new to so many people. So it's also very important that, because some of the projects that we've done now, you go to communities and they're like, what is climate change? What is green economy? So it's also very important that first of all we get people to understand. So for example, when we have a youth network platform, we go to schools like UMAT, and then we tell them that it's not just being about becoming a doctor or just becoming a lawyer or just becoming a nurse. There are other opportunities like renewable energy specialists, climate change communications person, and all of those things. And these are the emerging, job opportunities around climate change and green economy that as young people we have to benefit. Because if we have any young unemployment that we have in the country, and there's a new wave around green economy and sustainability, it's very important that we start thinking about, some of these, positioning ourselves in places where we can hear more about some of this information and then reskill ourselves. It's not just about what you study in school. And then also, there's also advocacy for us to upgrade like our curriculums and all of that. But it's also important that as we take the to position these things as first place, so that we know which direction to go to be able to benefit from that.
Direct. What are directions? So I'm wondering if Biogas IoT man will take this from. Feel free to talk about your work and then also just your 2 cents on the topic. Right.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm Samson Osubempa. I'm with Global Smart Biogas Technology, which is basically into leveraging on Internet of Things.
So the amplification is not working for you. Let me try and give you a voice. This is fine. Just macho your voice small. Me, I macho is small.
Okay, I'll macho it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Samson Osubempa. I guess this is better. With Global Smart Biogas Technology, where we leverage on Internet of Things, basically to improve upon the operational efficiency of biogas plants, making them smart. We're talking about climate change. How do we transfer the technology being developed and also the knowledge to people down there? So leverages on these to enable those, who use biogas plants to be able to know the corrective actions to take at the right time and all of those, measuring methane emissions and all of those. This is the trajectory that we are pursuing. And my take on the topic, climate smart innovations and actions, innovations for sustainability. Basically, I would like to speak about 5 things before we start. And the first one is basically about innovations.
Will you speak on all the 5? This is just too
very brief.
Very brief.
Yeah.
Okay, under 1 minute.
Okay.
Because maybe we can expand on the 5 in the heart of the conversation, right? So you take on 1. Yeah. As a teaser.
Yeah. So we talk about innovations, but innovations is too broad and it's also a bit, typical and specific. We talk about basic innovation. We talk about disruptive innovation. We talk about sustainable innovation, which is something that we should be churning our minds to breakthrough innovations and all. And these are based on the level in which you define your problem, as well as the discipline or the domain expertise that you have in that area. I think this is critical for us to know in order to measure our progress in our innovative journey, in our entrepreneurial journey or whatever we do, to ensure that it appeals to the society as well as to what we want to achieve for a sustainable environment. Yeah, I'll end here then.
I think that's a powerful 2 cents. Okay.
So my name is Isaac from Accra. I'm the National Project Coordinator for the International Trade Center on the tech sector. So we're supporting tech startups and also IT companies. We're also supporting organizations that support the tech startups, so tech hubs, or if you've heard of GEPA, which is around the corner, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. So we see how we can give them more support, more advice, more knowledge, so they can be better in what they do.
Why are you people giggling and things like that?
I'm asking you how much.
Speaking like you're something.
I'm Ghanaian, I'm a Fanti, but I was born outside small. But I've come back. For 9 years, I'm home.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, I give us all that feel every now and then. So, yeah, you get used to it.
I try to speak small so you can hear well. But for me, I just want to make it simple, especially for the youth.
Yeah.
The world is changing. Every day when you listen to the weatherman, they always say today is the hottest year ever. Before it used to be in my time, the hottest year this year, or the hottest years in 10 years' time. Now it's the hottest year since records began, which means getting hotter and hotter. We're seeing the effects of droughts happening. But here it's droughts, in Canada it's fires, in Greece it's fires. This week in UK there are floods. Weather is changing. But we need you to think of new ways of doing things, otherwise we cannot survive. 100 years ago, we didn't have cars. And someone sat down and decided let's use cars. Now cars go from petrol cars to Wahoo and Soul Taxi with electric, not using petrol. How else can we see how to do things differently? Innovation is not always technology. That's what I love what you do with biogas. Who here uses shea butter? Can I see shea butter? Okay. Do you know for every 1 kilo of shea butter, you use 8 kilos of firewood? But if you now innovate and use biogas, you don't burn the trees. So how can we think differently with existing technologies and make this world a better place? And the problem is our parents' generation, and even I'll say guilty, my generation, are not doing something. So, or not enough. So we need you to think of new ways of doing it. I'm sure you've heard of AI and blockchain. I say the ABC is AI, blockchain, and climate tech.
That's solid.
And that's where all the money is. You come from the COP, there's this big conference every year in countries where now $350 billion is promised to Africa to help solve climate. So if you can think of an idea, don't worry about the money. They have promised us the money. You need to think of the idea, and people like Natasha, yes, she's also here, so you can go straight to her. Or people outside will give you money if there's a climate angle. But we need the youth to think differently. Us old people, we're like one-way thinkers. We do the same thing.
I want us to delve deeper into that with the one-way thinking and then also the ABCs. So some part of the conversation. But let's hear from Natasha. And Isaac is getting fired up already. He's still passionate about these issues. So Natasha, yeah.
Hi everyone. I was ambushed to be here, so I'm going to try my best to move in line with everyone else because I did not prepare one bit, but I'll try. My name is Natasha Dadzi. I'm Senior Program Manager for Startup Discovery School. Startup Discovery School is an ESG and for the benefit of the youth, environmental, social, and government consult private sector to build innovation programs that are contributing to tackling climate change. Illustrating Africa. We are getting into the West African corridor in the next couple of years, but we are starting with Ghana because our co-founders is here and we want to start the impact from here. In the very recent past, I have been in venture capital, helping businesses with investor readiness, helping them to create value, grow, scale, and then access investment. I recently left I've worked with businesses to help them go through the value chain. And so I'm very, I would say a little bit well versed in the entrepreneurship space, also in the innovation space, and very passionate about gender equality. Not necessarily having a woman replace a man, but having a woman have equal rights so that they can access equal opportunity. And I have in the very near past worked in various or volunteered in various initiatives to be able to do just that. When we come to the theme for today, I would say in the very recent past, I have worked directly with businesses that are tackling climate change. But if I say I understood what it was before a couple of years ago, I will be lying. And in my living room, a couple of weeks ago, the conversations back up about climate change. And it will interest you to know that our mothers, our sisters, our uncles, they have no idea what the impact of the very little things that they're doing, including sparking a fuel car, does to the environment. And everybody is so clueless. And it got me to say that I'm from a middle class family. Unconventional to say the least. A lot of people have no idea what the little things we are doing is contributing to what the weather is going to be tomorrow.
Wow.
So I'm happy to be here to join the conversation, to empower you to do more in your solutions so that you get access to the resources you need to make Africa a better place. Thank you.
Amazing. Wow. We've assembled like some sort of Avengers type of people, right? To more or less like elephants walking in our midst. And today we'll probably do this. Happens every year. There's 29th edition that happened just last week. The conversation has always been that, okay, let's pull some funds to come and help Africans because Africans are suffering and we're in the eye of the storm and blah, 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 blah. We need the money, yes. But then are there existing solutions that are being showcased and being demonstrated at COP? More or less like to suggest to them that Africa may be, quote unquote, behind on aspects, but in some other way, there is opportunity. There's hope. There's a lot of things happening. So maybe in hope and about Africa is being, you're learning.
The COP conversation,
Yeah.
and then also about other solutions.
Yeah.
Showcase.
So the most is that get to COP.
Yeah.
So the aspect of the solutions that are being discussed that interact with the likes of Samson. Such are you doing something amazing. And the monies that you are looking at, the investments, there's someone like Samson who is doing amazing, so you go faster. I don't know how the conversation has gone this time around. So I'm curious about that bit of showcase exists and how generally the narrative has been painted. Right.
The reason why it looks as if the narrative is always as if we are the ones at the receiving end is because this whole conversation when it comes to climate finance, which is funding for climate action, is based on historical responsibilities.
Do you understand that?
That's let's take it from the basics. At least now we know climate change is happening. And then we know that we are all experiencing its impact one way or the other. So somewhere in the 1992s, so when people started experiencing, when scientists started coming up with reports that this is the looming danger that we are seeing, then it became important that countries come together to yearly meet, to discuss and to find solutions and to be able to provide the needed financial, technological, and capacity building for developing countries to be able to first mitigate. So when I say mitigate, it's about reducing our emission and also adapt to the increasing impacts of climate change. So that is what COP is about. So COP is about countries that have signed on to, and we all know the UN system. Someone worked with the UN, right? So UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, is focused on how countries are going to work together to address this climate problem that we are all experiencing. And so the meetings where these countries were in the COP process, we refer to them as parties, come together every year to dialogue on various agenda items is what we refer to as COP. And like Andy said, we had the 29th session not too long ago. So like I mentioned, and when I talk about historical responsibility, we all know that what are the main drivers of climate change? What truly causes climate change? First of all, emissions.
Let's ask the students, what causes climate change?
What is the major contributor?
The major contribution, yeah.
What is the major contributor?
We can hear you. I think I should turn into a teacher right now.
If I think then it's better we go that way, like try to go.
I want to actually have a two-way conversation so that it doesn't stay on the panel.
Yeah.
What's the major contributor? Your beard is too much. You answer it simple. I want the student.
The major contributor to this climate change
This climate change that we're seeing.
that is affecting the agri sector, water systems, and different areas. No, just say it. No,
Just say it.
Sorry?
Human activities.
Human activities. Which human activity?
Let's get specific. Deforestation.
Okay.
Cutting down trees. Fossil fuel.
Did I hear who said fossil fuel?
Francisca.
Okay. Exactly. So let's go.
Great. That's a good question. Fossil fuels.
Maybe I can help.
Yeah. No. Let them respond to it. Yes.
So what is it? What do you put into the vehicle?
Oil.
Oil's one.
Petrol, diesel. Those are fossil.
Those are the fossil fuels.
Those
right?
are the fossil.
And
coal, like the major
the major contributor is coal. Right?
So the reason why I'm talking
Let's
about
for them again. Patience. The reason
I'm talking about this is because I think he mentioned earlier that the way things were done at first is what is causing the problem you're experiencing now. Now, developed countries, they have the big industries. They industrialize and they developed using, the first innovation, the steam engine, and then the emergence of coal and all of those things. Yeah. That is what they use to power the economies that we are seeing that we want to jack up to go to those countries now. I want to take it one, one after the other.
I want to breaking it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that source of energy. Energy is everything. If we are as we are in this room, if there's no light, can you hear me? No. So people say that energy is a social security issue. So this is the form of energy that they have used to develop their countries over so many years. And now scientists have found that this coal and this fossil fuel emissions that are coming from the coal and fossil fuel, using that to industrialization, using that to power our homes, using that to do different forms for transportation, is what is causing climate change. So they are the ones, if you are talking about developed countries, it's not a developed country. Do we have developed countries in Africa? They are the ones who have used that. They are the ones who are still developing. Some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
Rwanda.
Oh, maybe South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are the
and Egypt.
Okay. Well. They are the ones they are the ones who have used this fossil fuel to develop. Yeah. And now we are saying that we globally, let's no longer use fossil fuel to develop because fossil fuel is causing what? Climate change. But you have the money now. You have the industries. You've been able to invest into your health sector. You've been able to invest into your education sector. You have very robust education systems that a lot of developing countries, people from developing countries would like to come to your place to develop. So on the principle of equity and fairness, is it fair that you have used this to develop and now you are telling me, now that we have recovered or we have discovered these resources in large quantities, we are going to use to develop, you are saying that, okay, there's climate change, we are all going to be impacted. So let's no longer use your resources to develop. Is that fair? But for the sake of the environment, what do we do? So that is why the UN has set up the UNFCCC and the COP system.
When you say UNFCCC,
United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
Fantastic.
So that is the UN body responsible for climate change issues. Let's put it that
UNFCCC.
UNFCCC. Yeah. That's a UN body responsible for climate change issues. So on that footnote, we all know that we are not. It's not fair, because Ghana oil some years back, and people can say that that investment has gone into a lot of things, building hospitals and different things. So people, developing countries are now discovered these resources that they're going to use to develop. But now we are saying that because of climate change, we are not supposed to use that to be able to develop. So that is why the system is such that now, if you don't want me to use fossil fuel to develop, what should I do? So that is the question. Then you should be able to give me finance, technology, and build my capacity to be able to leapfrog into this low carbon industries and economy that we are talking about.
That's what you heard from modeling, calling the net zero. Awesome.
So now we want globally, because of the impact of climate change, we want to shift to a system where we don't have to pollute too much, we don't have to emit too much, to be able to develop and live our everyday life in a very comfortable and easy way. So for that to be able to happen, for those who have now discovered these resources and now they are no longer, they won't be able to use it because of the harm it's causing to us globally, you have to provide us with the necessary the financial capacities and also the technology for us to be able to develop in a way that we do not follow the path that you used to develop, but rather we develop using renewable energy and other technologies that will lead us into the low carbon economy. So this is why the COP is set up. And that is why, so Andrew, imagine about 190 countries meeting in a room. There are different, so the main one for this year was climate finance.
Yeah.
A new goal for climate finance. A new goal for climate finance.
So they are going to squash the other goals? Because there were the NDCs and all that.
So 2 years. So the UNFCCC now set up the Paris Agreement. So the Paris Agreement seeks that we all achieve 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's a global temperature goal. Because right now, research is showing that we are already surpassing that. And that is why we're experiencing the impact as we're experiencing now. So we all have to come together to be able to achieve that temperature goal. How we are going to do that is that every country is supposed to come up with their nationally determined contribution. The listen to the name, nationally determined contribution. So Ghana, these are my sectors: agriculture sector, energy sector. This is the level of, this is what we emit. This is what I can do to contribute to emission reduction. And these are the areas I need support and I need money to be able to build resilient systems and infrastructure to be able to adapt. So that's the NDCs. So based on what I shared earlier about the fairness and equity, obviously the developed countries need to come up with measures that will help them cut down the emission more than us. Because we are still developing and we haven't contributed so much. So usually we hear that Africa contributes very less, not even up to 4% to global greenhouse gas emission. Yet we bear the most impact of the climate crisis. So every country at every 5 years is supposed to communicate how they are going to contribute to emission reduction. And so for developing countries that have come up with their NDCs, they need finance. We need, should I say we or this?
Yeah, we.
We need the finance, we need the money to be able to, because we are not following the usual route of using our hydrocarbons to develop. And so,
and when you say hydrocarbons, you know hydrocarbons to develop?
I think I have to just use.
I'm sorry, but maybe you can Google at this point. But I really want us, because of the audience, right? I don't want that conversation to pass over your heads. Okay, hydrocarbons. What's the greatest in terms of megawatt energy? Where do we get our energy from the most in Ghana? Akosombo, it's hydro, right? Yeah. So I think that's closely related to that. You can think about it like that.
So it's in simple terms.
Yeah.
It's about, again, the way systems and structures that we are now seeing were built or were made.
Yeah.
How developed countries use coal, use fossil fuel to build their industries and to be able to develop to the state where they are now. And as a result of that, we are experiencing what is called climate change.
Patience, hold your thoughts there. And then I know we'll touch on the representations or solutions that have been discussed there, but I'm curious to pick the mind of our IoT biogas man. I think he was listening to you keenly. When it comes to plugging into the side of scaling up innovations, to address this climate crisis. Case in point, we're talking about climate finance. I don't know what your experiences have been when it comes to financing your innovation, for an instance. I don't know if the message, or you want to.
I just maybe also when he talks about the challenges with accessing finance, then I can plug that into the climate finance goal and the new 300 billion for developing.
That's the new 300 billion.
That's the 300 billion. That's a new finance goal. So maybe.
Maybe you can talk about that, and then we can pitch it into, and then we can go to the ecosystems that are supposed to fall in line. We'll talk to the other side of the seat to plug. You see how the conversation is going? Please follow keenly. I don't want to lose the audience because your questions matters and your participation matters to me. Thank you. Yes.
Finance. I think one thing we should start with to be able to tap into such opportunities is to be able to measure what you want to trade for. So monitoring, evaluation, and learning is something that's very key. So in our system, we are building towards a trajectory where at a point in time be able to measure real-time emissions, and at a point in time be able to use that to buy carbon credits, then to tap into such finance.
It's getting technical. It's getting but okay, let's try and then do it this way. Otherwise,
let me just land.
Okay,
and then now because I was talking about carbon markets.
Yes. So otherwise we'll go into the markets and
then people won't be able to. So friends, what I mentioned earlier. So now the whole conversation about climate finance is about developed countries who have used this coal and others to develop, supporting developing countries, least developed countries, small island states to be able to also catch up with their development by not using the same energy that they used to be able to develop. So that's the whole conversation also about climate finance and the need for us to go to COP. So now this new 300 billion finance goal is supposed to go to the financing mechanisms. So we also have financial mechanisms under the UNFCCC. So like the Green Climate Fund, the Adaptation Fund, and different bodies. These are the funds that countries go to them with proposals of programs and projects that they want to do. And they're able to assess funding to be able to implement specific, now it's even sometimes also about policy, putting in place the right policy. Because policy is supposed to give you a sense of direction as to where you are going to go as a country.
Right.
And then there are other bodies who are not necessarily part of the UNFCCC system, like the philanthropies, those who fund like NGOs.
Yeah.
So that place, and those who give support for like startups.
Yeah.
That place, people like Bempa can write a proposal, apply for funding, and go to be able to access the money.
Yeah, fantastic. So maybe on that point, you see where the access in finance. My question has to do with the innovations that can attract those finance, your experience, and then we will go to the other side in terms of the development of the ecosystem, the environment to more or less like amplify or give room for these innovations. Well, I'll pick the thoughts of Natasha and then hear from Isaac. You get the flow. So I want us to be in sync like that.
Sure, thank you. So I think first, to be able to start to start, you should look at what are the technologies that are already existing. Because I think duplication of technologies are really, really not necessary, except if they are in two different geographical contexts and there is no need, there's no support for one geographical system. So I think that's something that is very key. So we started the Green Smart Biogas technology. We realized that a number of biogas plants are failing in Ghana over the course of history. A number of them are looking, at regards to how the biogas technology, which is the system, the biodigester, is constructed. Mostly the floating drum as well as the dome digester, where they have a lot of issues, given the technical inexpertise.
Don't worry. The digesters are just.
I'll explain.
You explain it. You won't get lost.
Okay, so let's look at. I know you know how they do kinky, right? Yes. Okay, I think that would be better.
Speaking the language.
So realize that you might have learned about anaerobic digestion.
You've learned about anaerobic digestion.
So,
Okay,
so children students are there. Let me break it down. Okay. So let's say you seal the maize and all in a drum, and after a certain amount of weeks or maybe days, depending on how it is, you realize that you feel some sense in it. You get it. But when we do that same thing for waste, maybe the waste that you have from your kitchen and all of those cow dung, cow dung. Yeah. You realize that at a point in time, there is a build-up pressure. Build-up meaning some gas is generated and it's a Z pressure. As soon as you open it, you realize there's some stench coming from it. That is biogas. So we have particular systems that are built, sometimes huge, sometimes small, like the drums that we use in our kitchen, to be able to generate this gas. And when that gas is connected to maybe a cooking stove and we turn on the fire, we can get gas. So coming to hydrocarbons, I have a background in petroleum engineering. So realize that in the biogas, we have something called methane.
Methane gas.
CH4.
CH4.
So Ghana, we have some
SI unit. I need to sack you from here now.
So Ghana, we have some SRM. Oh, sorry. We have some energy coming from natural gas, which is also a component of, oil and gas. So petroleum means rock oil, basically. So take it from rock deeper within the ground, So I have a component in by that is burning. That gives the heating value of the biogas, and that is what we are tapping into. And independent on the circumstances you subject the system to, the amount of water in the duration, realize that you might be able to get more than 60% or even less, even depending on the type of waste you inject. So that's biogas. I hope you understand. And biodigesters.
Nice.
So realize that in Ghana, we have a lot of waste issues, managing organic waste and all, which is a typical source of where you get the, biogas, which is a form of renewable energy. We talk about methane emissions, this scope and all. One particular, there are some gases, so we have carbon dioxide, we have methane emissions and others. H2O, which is water vapor. That's also bad. I realize that there's a whole lot of mess methane can cause. So our solution is basically to harness the biogas system so that rather than you going to maybe gas from a filling station, you can use your waste that you've generated to be able to generate that gas, having that component of methane, CH4, that has the heating value to be able to do your normal cooking. And even in rural communities, to be able to use that waste that they generate from the agricultural processes to be able to generate electricity, because Ghana government generating electricity from a Atuabo plant, sending it there over several kilometers, losing a lot of energy, and of course, incurring more costs would be too much burdensome for such communities. So
now let's connect to the innovations that get attracted, in terms of finance. With your case, it's an amazing case study, and I like the education going on. I'm all about the education. Curious to know how you've been able to attract support capital to do your work, and then we can then go straight to the ecosystems that need to support. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I started with a research project where we got some 10,000 euros from one German foundation to be able to start with regards to building our first prototype, because they realized there is no such study, in Africa based on that. So they decided to support us, and basically we have our first prototype. In the journey, we found SYND, where we are part of their Young Green Entrepreneurs, to basically, you don't just build a solution. I talked about basic innovation, sustainable. You need to pivot from, basic innovation through the various aspects like disruptive and breakthrough to get to sustainable innovation. We're getting that from SYND and CDK and a number of other partners. So that's how come we're able to get financing, but there is more that we are going to look into regards to the carbon market.
Fantastic. Hold your thought there. So first, it has to do with attracting research grants to support the work. And then you then get the capacity building from SYND and then CDK.
Yes.
So now you are beginning to grow. What is the current level of growth? What would you consider yourself?
So currently, I think we are still at the startup level, because, and in the intermediate of how they call it, the
So early to
innovation
proof of
phase.
concept to like
Exactly, to move.
to
Yeah.
to growth. Okay, fantastic. Let's go to Natasha. You're with the Startup Discovery School, and ESG is big news for you. Curious to know how the story or the case study, how it connects to your work, and then how we can actually more like bring in the ecosystems that are needed to discover the right startups that are doing the amazing things, and then we just build them from there, right?
Okay. Interesting. When he was speaking, I'm like, I would like to talk to this guy after because we're running our very first program that we're running in Ghana is a venture studio program. And if you know anything about accessing investment or building your business, you know that when you get to a point where you have either validated your minimum viable, okay, I think I'm going down the line. Okay, you validated your business idea, all right, and it's already in the market, and people are patronizing. Point where you need extra money to be able to start running. You need certain support and resources to help to get you beyond where you currently are. So that is what we are doing at Startup Discovery School as one of our programs, which is a venture studio program, to support climate technology startups. So like exactly what you're doing, he might need access to funding, build some kind of technology that he's using for the production of the biogas. We are there to help you. We'll provide you with expertise. We'll provide you with a little bit of grants when you are in the program. And then we prepare you so that when you are exiting, you get access to a bigger investment. We have a sister company called Sahara Impact Ventures. That is a venture capital firm that is investing in businesses. So from where he is, you join a program like that, you get access to experts, product development, funding, and then fundraising. You get access to impact direction. You get access to commercial growth, and then of course your product development. When you are done with a program like that and you are not ready to scale, then I don't know what kind of business that you are. So there are a lot of programs like this. I would say we're very proud to say we're the very first gender lens venture studio in West Africa because we are very we're very particular about empowering women to take the front stage of solving these problems. I would agree with all the panelists that have come before me that sometimes when it comes to these big problems, we women think it's too big for us. When we penetrated Ghana, we in September of this year, we ran a competition, climate champion competition. And for us, it was, and the lady that I work closely with, Mandy is very passionate about how can we find the women entrepreneurs? How can we find the women innovators? And we actually went on a national, how do you call it?
Campaign?
Yes, sort of like a campaign. We were just finding, we wanted to make sure that we penetrate every region in this country. And I'm proud to say that we did 15 out of the 16 regions, and we were able to get representation across. But the problem was a lot of the women entrepreneurs or the women innovators that came with solutions had major issues of expressing their solutions properly. So yes, it was great, but we were also very intentional about picking teams that either had a woman or was led by a woman so that we can promote that. So that's also some of the ways that we found those organizations. We ran a competition. We gave out a few dollars to some 3 businesses to be able to move with. Yeah, what I said, few dollars. Yes, I know. Because it's not a lot of money. Because if you're in the climate technology space, you understand that the amount of money that you need to develop this product is huge.
He said 10 million, you know?
Yes. If I'm giving you $5,000, it's nothing.
No.
To be honest, it won't do much for you. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that there is this and then so many different programs. Very recently, GIZ outdoored their very new green was green something facilitator program.
Oh yes, the green finance facilitator.
Yes, green finance facilitator, working with the finance industry to be able to provide finance to climate or green businesses, to say the least. And so there's a lot happening in terms of providing that kind of support. So you have to be ready to take it up.
Absolutely, there's a lot happening, and Isaac is coming from the ecosystem enabling aspect. When it comes to tech, we're using Natasha, what they are doing from the startup discovery angle, innovation, studio, bringing in these people, and the gender lens approach, they're still struggling to have confident, bold ladies to be a part of the conversation. I don't know how the enabling aspect will have to be taken now, or how we can actually just connect the various dots and then create that platform that these innovations can thrive, particularly those that are led by women, right? What are your perspectives or thoughts, insights regarding how we can go about this?
Well, let me just check with the room.
Yeah.
We have ladies here, so all men, I'm not asking you. Ladies, who here in the room is either doing or did science, math, computer science, or engineering? So ladies, if you're doing something like that, please your hands up. So we have one.
You see, this one we are
science,
computer
science, math, engineering. Put your hands up high. In fact, please stand.
Stand.
STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Please stand.
Wow.
See, this is issue.
Yeah, this is the issue.
I'm very proud of you. We need more of you. So thank you. Right? We need more of you. A lot of people say things are hard here. From my accent, you can hear I was born in Japan. I've come back. I studied in the UK, computer science. There were 106 people studying. Only 4 were women. So it's not just a Ghana problem. But if we now would have more females, for Natasha, where are they coming from? So to solve that problem doesn't take many different steps. So to solve that problem, I'm proud to say I know people like STEM Aid or Dex Technology, where they do science sets or robotics kits that everybody can get involved in. Because we need more women to also want to do things in that technical field. Once we have that, then we have more people who come up and then can become founders. But right now, we have maybe 50 women in the room, and only 4 come from a technical background. Just because you didn't study computer science or engineering doesn't mean you can't do it. It makes it a little bit more challenging, right? So that's one place we need to start. Yeah. So I know MasterCard Foundation and Nest, the 2 organizations, and doing a lot of things on that side. Yeah. But for the
aspect of
it's enabling from the ecosystem.
Enabling.
So we talk about GIZ, ITC, the International Trade Center. We're also very keen on this green and digital. So it's called almost a twin transition. We're moving from coal and hydrocarbons and these polluting things, and everything being on paper and pen, to now everything being digital and everything being green. So everything's now not polluting. And we're seeing how can we do this twin transition, both go digital and also go green. So we're pushing that angle. We have different organizations like Impact Investing Ghana.
That's right.
And they're doing workshops and training investors on how to think green and realizing that investing in green makes sense. I might be a little bit controversial, but at the end of the day, business is business.
Yeah, profits must come in.
So
then, how do we? Let's think about this a bit. Business is business. It's an issue for the SYNDs. They want to think about sustainable business, right? The interconnection between an impact-oriented approach to doing business. So maybe let's try and qualify it for me, or perhaps Natasha.
I just want to say something after.
Okay, so try and qualify it for me. I don't know the approach that you are coming from, but business, and then you think about, others, people, planet, profits, right?
There's a startup from Austria called Plasticpreneur. And what they do is they recycle plastics, but they turn them into buttons. Now you can buy buttons. People buy buttons. You don't care about the recycling part. You don't care. And finding the commercial of people, if you have a that has impact, you might clap, they won't give you money. So you need to find something that they're willing to pay for, and you company design it so it also has impact level.
Yes, Natasha.
Just thinking of that, when I was a venture incubator, our main prerogative was to build what we called and this would make can be there was the hybrid spectrum can be would you get into the middle
Nice.
I don't think it's only about sometimes we have to go and find that plastic and then recycle it before. No, you have to even think about the processes that you use in your production process. Recently, I went to the guys that produce Indomie and Lash Hair in Tema. I went to have a conversation with them, and they were telling me how climate conscious they've also become. So they used to use black oil for their steaming on an industrial basis. Now, I think about 3 years ago, they transitioned from the use of black oil to agri waste to use to, I think very similar to what you spoke about with the biogas, but to use agri waste for steaming. So it is about you being conscious, and that's what people were investing. And so for people who are looking for actual investment, and people who are looking for impact investment, it goes both ways. No, people care about where you get that bottle from. If you realize Baltic Water changed the hard bottles to a very soft bottle, so that their bottle is now biodegradable. People care about how you produce that hair that you say you are producing. People care about how you make that food and sell. Because today, I can assure you, people care. So you have to be intentional about both the things you are doing within the organization, the people you are affecting, and the market that you're dealing with. That's what it is.
Wow. Okay. Think about the people, think about the market, and the planet. Amazing. I want to go to the government side. It's always very funny to bring in the government in conversations like this. When everything is said and done, you made mention of, and you hear Isaac also talk about the various enabling environment, get more STEM ladies in engineering, innovation. I don't know how the policy direction has but we need climate smart to develop the innovation that right. How has it been? I'm sorry, I'm bringing cop again. But when they go there, what did they say there? I'm curious to know.
No, you're taking us
I'm not going to go there. Don't go there. But then on practical level, let's come home.
Yeah.
What do our government need to do to make sure that we have more women in STEM. Another minister has been great. I mean, what's his name? The fine gentleman, Dr. The Minister for Education was so big on the robotics side of things. No. Educhum. I'm sorry, Dr. Educhum. He was so big on the robotics side, making sure that we get all these smart schools, smart classes, all these things. I don't know how it has gone, but SYND side of things, you have been doing the capacity building, advocacy, making sure that the policy is well designed, the formulation process, and the consultative approach in designing these things so that we're able to solve the issue. What are your thoughts regarding this and your experiences so far and how the government is actually positioning their effort? Are they listening to the likes of Isaac Newton's and then Natasha's to really design this policy? Are they really engaging you?
Yeah, now you're okay. Please, I don't work for government. But also, Andrew, I'll say that it's not going like as fast as we would want it to be, but there has been some progress. Particularly, Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. They are they host like the UNFCCC focal person. So they are the ones in charge of making sure that there's integration into various policies and programs when it comes to energy transition and even driving towards the low carbon economy and all of those things. There are quite a number of policies that have been developed. I counted almost plus 10 yesterday. Wow. About the policies that have been developed in these areas. So there's the National Climate Change Policy, there's the Green Jobs and Green Growth Strategy, there's the National Adaptation Plan. But talking about the enabling environments, for example, for private businesses, for example, when Ghana was developing the National Adaptation Plan, I said this, I always give them thumbs up because they went further to engage through AGI.
Okay. Association for AGI.
Through AGI, I think they said there's another.
For Ghana Industry. Association for Ghana Industries is AGI.
Through AGI to have different sessions for the private sector.
Oh,
because adaptation in itself, because it's not profit oriented, sometimes it's difficult to get people to support projects and programs in adaptation. And they are looking at how they with businesses in the country. So they have a private sector engagement strategy for climate change and climate adaptation. So that is them. I also mentioned that there's also the green jobs strategy also, looking at how young people can also be able to tap into the employment opportunities that the green economy also presents. But we know that that is not enough. We have policy, but sometimes how the implementation goes is always the challenge. That is why we always would like to talk about this added on work that, for example, you mentioned the capacity building trainings that young entrepreneurs get to benefit as part of, for example, SYND's green entrepreneurship programs or one that CDK and other organizations are doing. And most importantly, our educational system. Sometimes it looks like it's going to take a long time, but it has to be done.
On the curriculum design, that's a big ask.
It has to be done.
When?
But now government they've started introducing bits and pieces of climate change education in the basic I think from class 1 to class
basic level.
Yeah, the basic level. Because for the university level, they have like people who they have these specialized courses and all of those things, and there are general courses that people take. So the basic level, people like government is introducing climate change education, all of those things.
Gotcha.
So in terms of policy direction, honestly, and even for businesses like Bempes own and like, so what we usually, when we are training the young green entrepreneurs, when you're going to assess grants, you have to tie it into the direction your country is going to.
Yeah. Did you hear that? When we're going to access grants, you tie it into the direction
your country is. Even for
this country, what's the direction? I'm sorry.
That's another thing. That's another thing I wanted to highlight. Andrew, there are so many beautiful things in the policies.
Really?
That if you take it and you use that to write for proposals, the one, I don't know, the investor, not the investor, for like the donor giving you the money.
An example, GCE, so the Green Climate
Fund Adaptation. It's a complex, for those ones, it's very complex to assess.
But the money is big. They have a lot of money there.
Yes, but those ones are usually for governments. For government projects, for government to be able to develop maybe resilience health systems or education systems and all of this. But now let's talk about like the donor, the COF applications that we see every day. So the little grants, COF applications for us to be able to develop. The winning proposals are the ones that are tied into what the government is doing. Because at the end of the day, those donors are also going to report that they're also contributing to their country's efforts to also mitigate and address the impact of climate change.
That's a good knowledge. And I'm wondering, I want to take a casual scan in the room. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Time is not on our side. Mr. Hunya was just sending us a WhatsApp messages. But when conversation gets exciting like this and now the adrenaline in my body just rises, something happens. I just waste the time. But please, we're not going to take too much time from you. I hope it has been insight. Okay, you have two hands. I've spotted you have been recognized. Okay. Any other person? 3 questions. So that's all. 3 questions. Isaac had something he wanted to chime in real quick. I don't know if Bempa had something else.
Just very quick on the government side, since you attack my post over here, I just say like
I wasn't attacking her. It was a friendly.
Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation. They are giving out funds for people who have innovative ideas. So they're trying to incentivize people to come up with ideas. So also there's no age limit. So
no age limit.
Whether you're 70 or you're 17 or you're 15, go for it, right? And then the other thing is the Ministry of Education. They actually employed a community called IoT Network Hub. We mentioned here you have IoT inside your devices. And they were going into 4 different regions across Ghana to teach teachers on how to teach robotics.
Wow.
So the government, it might not be enough, or they're trying to do a few things. So I don't think the government.
Mosquito clubs. Bempa, you had 2 cents. Please, under 30 seconds, so that we'll just share from this.
Okay, so adding on to what Pat was mentioning, I think the government is having a number of initiatives, but as she's saying, you need to find what the direction they are going to and tie into it. I mean, the government mentioned, the president of Ghana mentioned about $800 million have been accrued over a year. You ask yourself, where is that money? But you realize that if you pay in attention, you'll be able to find where the money is and be able to assess some of it. I mean, we don't do research, so we realize that we are not able to find a lot of data. Coming to technologies, advanced technologies, and all. Look at ITU, International Telecommunications Union. Realize that they have Kaleidoscope, a document where every year they organize academic, writings and research in leading innovations. Go there, find yourself what is there, then look at what fits into your context. Work on that, and basically be able to, channel some of these, innovations and also modify them to suit your context. And let's get the climate change action going.
Great.
I
you had something else to add?
No, just
okay. Go ahead.
There's in terms of policy and youth participation and all of that. So, Government of Ghana is now developing the National Adaptation Plan, and then we as young people, we said it's very important to ensure that we also have something for young people. And then because what they do is they've done some risk assessment. So in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, which are the sectors that are going to be most vulnerable to climate change impact? Where do we need to, focus our concentration and all of those things? So we partnered with the University of Ghana Center for Climate and Sustainability Studies to also just do a little bit of assessment to see what are the needs of young people. And then obviously the one that came out strongly was the jobs, because there's a huge unemployment gap challenge in the country. And we went a step further to be able to develop what are some of the jobs that are available in this green economy. I don't know if I can reach all of, because they're about at the tail end. Because I really want people to look at that. So maybe as a concluding, then we'll just read that. Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take all the questions one at a go, and then we'll just hit it. So I recognize 3 people. Nobody should raise their hand again because I won't be. I'm like hardcore right now. So go ahead.
All right. I'm Sadina Duncan. I'm a final year student from the University of Ghana. So this is my question.
So with innovation, you need resources, and to get resources, you need to extract them. My issues on ethical innovation in the exploitation of resources. So you realize that most green technologies rely on lithium, like lithium batteries for their cars and other technologies. And what you realize is that you need to extract these materials and you get them from developing countries. And what you see is that developing countries are mostly being exploited for these resources. So, what provisions are being made to ensure that a certain demographic is not being disincentivized in terms of resource extractions and negotiations? And how are we also backing developing countries in terms of unfair trade when it comes to negotiations with extraction of raw materials like the lithium and other things we need for this green innovation? That's my question.
It's another level. Right. It's powerful. I like that. It's a very spot on question and it's so important. So extractives, exploitation and all that. I'm sure Bempa and she just came from COP. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Minerva Yabua. My question, I don't even know if it's a question per se, but it's centered on COP and the Paris Agreement.
Don't go to COP, please.
I just want to know that what's the enforceability and legality aspect of everything you guys talk about at COP? Because if one party is to default, like how do you guys enforce this? I just want to know the enforceability aspects.
Very, very important question. Yeah. Timio.
Okay, I'm Abdul Hakim, and my question to go to the COP woman.
Please go to somewhere else. Okay, go ahead. You should.
Yeah, so last year it seems.
Oh my God, why did I say COP?
So last year, since they were talking about fossil fuel phase out, and I know in Africa, most of us depend on fossil fuel in the industry and at home. So I want to know how the government, in particular Africa, Ghana, we are doing towards that. And also, I have this project in mind. That is trying to know or quantify the emissions from fossil fuels in the various OMCs in Ghana so that we can see how we are going to solve climate change. The project to quantify the emissions from various fuels from OMCs in Ghana. Yes. Yes, any method, yes. Yeah, so if there's any NGO or something that can help me with that.
So you're still thinking. So continue to think, and once you find something, we can talk. But in the meantime, I don't know how we go about this. So let's just do this, and then we just give our final thoughts, and then.
Why did Andrew even talk about?
I don't know. But I mean.
So I think the question about enforceability. I remember. So this year, I wanted to follow negotiations or track negotiations. I remember our trainer before he started talks was trying to take us through international law, the multilateral system and all of those things. It's binding, but it's not too binding. That is why Trump can wake up and say, I've left the Paris Agreement, and nobody can do anything to Trump. That is why now, if you listen to internet, I saw a report, the person said, if you care about the environment and the need for us to fight for climate action, don't vote for Trump. Because, Trump is someone, and we are talking about when US exits the Paris Agreement, we are talking about the biggest historical emitter. We are talking about the biggest historical. So that is the challenge, the frustration that we are all having. I wish, and then there are indications, he hasn't communicated officially yet. I wish that when Trump comes out to say that we are exiting the Paris Agreement, all countries can take Trump to court. But the challenge is, UNFCCC negotiations are one aspect. Developing countries usually also rely on these developed countries for other support. So even this year, the whole deal about the 300 billion, how it resulted into the 300 billion, because developing countries were calling for 1.3 trillion every year as the annual finance goal. So every year they want developed countries to provide 1.3 trillion every year. But then imagine it went low to 300 billion, because at the end of the day, different countries, their presidents were calling them, because you sign trade agreements, security agreements with different places. So there are other conflicting interests, that also comes to place. That's what makes this whole multilateral. That's why people say that the UNFCCC is not fit, to be able to, the process is not fit to be able to address the issue of climate change. But as at now, that's the only well-recognized international diplomacy platform that we also have, to be able for countries to come together to even have conversations about, climate change. So yes, when people flout, you can't really hold them accountable, because when it comes to funding that's supposed to go into adaptation, this year for the second time, the adaptation fund, there are countries that have pledged that they are going to put 100 billion, whatever. They haven't contributed. And so when you see, we know concern the number of pledges that have come, but materialize. And we are calling on them to be able to provide that money to the adaptation and also language is not really binding. It's very loose. It's very loose language. Yeah. So that's
answer the extra on the lithium bit.
Going to finish, because for example, we are talking about transition, and then there's now when you also hear about the critical minerals, we are saying that most of the minerals that we also need to transition from fossil fuel, most of them are found in Africa. Like she's saying, what it means is that they will still have to come to Africa. So you hear lots of companies saying that they need us, we don't need them, they need us, and all of those things. Congo is a classic example. Ghana has found lithium and all those minerals. So like there's the Africa Critical Minerals Vision and all of those things. But personally, what I think, and that's something I'm working towards, I think it goes back to really getting the young people and the women in the communities to really understand how they are going to negotiate with these companies and industries when they come to their communities to mine. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Yes, there's a partner we are working with, Center for Environmental Transparency or something. They are willing to take us a step further to take Chinese companies who are into illegal mining activities to court. Now, when we go to the communities, it's difficult for us to get the documents that will enable us to take them to court, because it's the chiefs and the others who have signed the agreements with these companies, and they are taking the benefits. So the community people who are being affected by sound blasting, they have taken their farms and they're using it for the farming. So of course, as things are, there are systems and structures in place, and they have to follow that. So for me, when it comes to avoiding or reducing the level of exploitation, whether it has to do with gold mining, oil drilling, lithium, or whatever, it's really about really working with. It looks like a long-term solution, but that's the only way we can reduce the level of exploitation that we are seeing in our communities. Because until that is done, we'll continue to have governments sign agreements with these companies. They go to the communities, work with the chiefs, and they continue to take the lands. Communities will complain, but it won't go anywhere. And when there are legal institutions that are willing to take them up, they are scared for their lives, and they don't even have access to the documents, because the lawyers told us without the documents they cannot go to court to claim for any benefits for the community. So it's very important that we really working with the community people, empowering them. Some of the community people too, they're already, it's okay. They're already into the system, so it's difficult to convince.
Yeah, so I just want to keep it brief.
Final thoughts. The question, okay, so
Maybe we should talk. We should talk. Okay. We are far beyond.
Final thoughts. 30 seconds. I really like how he started how we developed or the development that we are seeing now. We've all seen where it is leading us or where it has led us to. We are talking about climate change. There's one doctor, we call him Professor, that is so good with this climate change conversation. Usually call him to engage young people. You say that young people see. Now, climate change conversation is about what we eat. It's about what we wear. It's about how we are going to transport from one place to the other. And the energy system that we have used to power all of these things that have come at the end of the day to harm us. So for us to really be able to, get out of this, like he's saying, we change how we produce food. We need to change how we commute by using EVs, electric vehicles, and all of those things. And along all of these things, they present opportunities. It looks like a long-term vision when you're thinking about it on your own, like what can I? But everybody has a role, everybody has a space in this place that they'll be able to play. So don't, especially when we meet students, don't look at it as if that's why I wanted to read the jobs that are available in the green economy for you to understand. So that in your schools, you start, it's not just about, even if you study science, general arts and all of those things, take on volunteer.
She just came back from COP, so the words are in her degree. But thank you so much, Patience, for those thoughts. About the jobs, you can probably just push it to us. Okay, we'll make it available to them, to your teachers and everybody, so that at least it gives you an idea what you should be aiming for. All right.
Yes. So mentioning earlier on the framework, the quadrants, basic innovation, then we move to others.
The guy is technical. Well, what's the quadrant? Please, within 30 seconds.
Okay, then I'll show you the trajectory.
Yeah.
So I think one.
He said he would. Sorry. I heard that and then it just popped up my head. I was like, goodness.
Okay, so there is this. I think we've learned about extended. Maybe some of us know about extended reality. Some people put on some lens and they'll be seeing some whole things, playing some games. Yeah, we have. That's one of the technologies that can really help us here. The earlier one, the doctor was talking about how the rural communities understand climate change, and by incorporating some of these into that, virtual reality, augmented reality, and at a point in time, maybe mixed reality. So augmented reality is basically about how we're able to make our physical reality, right, available via a lens. A lens. So lens, maybe.
Yeah.
With a helmet. Yeah. So that basically you're able to interact with your environment. Yeah. Then we have the virtual one as well. So realize that when you're explaining things to people in rural communities, they are not able to understand. But with that, you'll be able to move across different areas to be able to teach them even practical aspects for students and all. Without having the physical equipment, I think that would be a great way that we can look at. And that's an emerging technology that we can look at in our agri sector.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's a very rich panel, so pardon us. It's a lot of knowledge here.
I'll end where I began, especially for you, everybody here, but I'm especially looking on this side. The ABCs: AI, blockchain, and climate tech. If you explore those areas, you don't need to have a science background to go into it. But those things are going to be fundamental in changing the future. I know it'll be hard to believe, but I remember when I entered into the online world when internet first came, right? And now we can't imagine life without internet. Blockchain Web3 is the next level of internet. The things can unlock and do. AI, I think we're all using AI one way or another. Now climate is next. So thinking on those lines for investing in them, finding jobs in them, creating solutions there, that's what you should be thinking.
Thank you so much, Mr. Newton, for this.
Okay. So I would just say something I said earlier. People care. So when you're thinking about your business ideas, when you're thinking about solving a problem in your society, think about the people, think about the planet, and think about how you can make money to stay alive for a very long time. Thank you.
I like that. Now, please, let's celebrate this amazing. Thank you so much for gracing this ceremony and for honoring us with this amazing insight. Interpreter, Mayan Koshi.
Good afternoon to us all. I'm not feeling the vibe. We look tired. We are all tired. Oh, so you can't even spend like 5 minutes of your time so that we wrap it up. You are all tired. But I believe we've all enjoyed the conversation so far. No, it's like you are in a rush. You want me to cut it short so that you all go. Eh? So you okay? So let's do it together. Eh? Then I'll jump to the next step. So what are some of the key takeaways that you? Let me start with you guys. What have you taken from this session that when you go home, you are going to talk about, or you are going to implement or take action? Yes. What have you learned so far from the conversation, from the first panel to the last panel? Like takeaway, what have you taken so far from this conference that you want to go implement when you go home? So next action, think. Oh, you can sit down if you're feeling shy or you want to stand up. Okay. So,
Thank you for the question. I've learned a lot actually.
come here. She's a bit shy.
Actually, I've learned that our basic things we do at home normally contribute to the climate change. And I've learned that I'll put a stop to it, especially dumping of rubbish anyhow. Yeah.
Oh, so your contribution will be towards waste management, managing waste properly. Okay. Let me go to the backbenchers.
Okay, so I learned that no matter what you do in this life, you have to be skillful. At least learn how to use some tools or some instruments in your life for yourself.
So what tools did you learn about that you want to go and use? You don't know of any tool. Okay.
Please, I learned that burning deforestation and then burning of fossil fuels at the cost of climate change.
Okay. So she said she learned that deforestation and burning of bushes is cause and fossil fuel is causing climate change. And my brother.
I also learned that we should be very intentional when it comes to climate. It's not just about going for the various programs. You should be able to be very intentional and tell yourself that in any way that you can use to help the climate change, you use it, especially in your house or various houses, turning off your lights and other things, are measures that you can take as a person or as an individual to help with the climate change.
Okay. So I believe the climate change bit have been tackled now because the intention was to look at climate change and climate education and also to tackle the gender bits of it. But so far I haven't got anyone talking about gender because the first panel literally hammered a lot on gender. So let me come to the big women and start with you.
Okay, so I learned from the first panel discussion that women have to learn the technical aspect of things so that not that they will replace men in jobs, but then they'll be able to be on the same level, hence the equity aspect of it.
Okay, that's good. The next person. Oh, you just add up. Just add up. Just add up.
Okay. Like what she said, we shouldn't always go for the soft skill because we are women. We should also look at the technical side of it. It's going to help us. We should learn how to do little things because they say there's a saying, as the saying goes, charity begins at home. When you start doing little things on your own, if the bulb is there, you change it. You start that way, it's going to help you along the line.
Now let me add. Okay.
I've learned that I've learned that males can do jobs that were generally for females back then, and females can also do things that were assigned to only men.
Okay, good. I like the way the conversation.
Okay, so I've learned a lot, but my major takeaway is the ABC, AI, blockchain, and then climate technology. And I also learned that as a future mother, I should raise my children in such a way that the lady is tech savvy, and then the male is also like very helpful at home, so that in future when he gets married, his wife will not be stressed out.
Okay. I like that bit, particularly the ABC bit. That's AI, blockchain, climate action.
Yeah, my takeaway is that climate change, it's a collective effort. The fight against it is a collective effort, and everybody must put their shoulders on the wheel, and we can eradicate that.
Okay, thank you. My colleagues in the second compartment. Anybody want to add your voice to the conversation?
Okay, I would like to say that women should embrace new developments. Like the speaker said in the first panel section, that some women are not willing to, to take up technical skill just as they are requesting for equity and equality. So my takeaway is that as women, we should be able to have be open-minded to, embrace new skills, like technical skills. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And one last person, there we go.
Okay, I also learned we should take the pragmatic approach, as in enough of the talking, we should do more action. So let's talk more action.
I like that part. Said what? Let's talk more what? Let's talk more what? Okay, so let's get to the action bit. So I didn't want to just come and read. I just wanted to get the feedback that we've taken some. So I think the next step is actions. What are we going to do? What are some of the next steps that we can take? So I believe Andrew, is Andrew around? Andrew is not around. Then wow. Andy, you want Andy? Yeah. Okay. So then we'll just do that bit. So I believe that we need to work in terms of partnerships, building more partnerships, so that the conversation that we have, we can put them into action points. That's coming up with proposals, programs, and initiatives that we can get to champion whatever we've discussed here. And that would mean working together, ASU and various organizations. And the main convener of the conference, I think we can explore a bit of partnership together, get proposals, running, flying, because we can't do this without resources. So definitely we need to find resources to champion whatever thing that we are discussing. And I believe next year, if we meet again to have the fourth edition, probably we might have built on success from this event based on the key takeaways that we have, which is very, very key that we need to sit and have more discussion. And I believe we have people from different organizations who are here, I believe the conversation as startup has ignited some spirit of entrepreneurship, people going into various entrepreneurship programs, particularly through the gender lens, I should say. I want more female entrepreneurs, particularly maybe in future my daughter, when I decide to settle down, my daughter will join them. But for now, and the men to play a key role in supporting them, coming up with initiatives and everything. So that is the key takeaway from here. Unless you want me to still bore you with my conversation, I think I will end here and hand over the conversation, the mic back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was just indeed very insightful. And for the key actions given us, we are so much grateful. A round of applause again for him. He's done so well. Programs director for ASU. I personally hold this particular edition in high esteem because of how far we've come as Anijie Global Foundation. Yes, we started the first edition 3 years ago. It was only 50 people in a small cubicle at Ghana Innovation Hub at Circle. The second edition, the same venue, Ghana Innovation Hub. that went to about 75. And today what we are seeing here is an evidence of the fact that we are growing, right? We over 200, that if my math is right, yes, we over 200, including the keynote speakers, including the traditional leaders and everybody, those that came and, and left. I mean, it means that we are going somewhere. Hopefully next year is going to be another wonderful year and another wonderful edition. This year too, we've had a lot of partners, even though he wasn't a financial partner, but we hope next year we are going to have partners that are going to give us cash, because some of these things doesn't come easy. Most of the financial support has been from key members of Anijie Global Foundation, especially the founder herself. It has not been easy for her. She just came down from UK because of this conference, just to make sure that everything goes on well. And it has not been easy, but hoping that next year, with the help of ASU and British Council, we are going to go to a bigger auditorium and do something bigger and better. So be in expectancy. Next year, we might still call on you for your support this time around, and also for your participation again. In closing, I would call on Yaya to give us a vote of thanks briefly, then we are out of here.
Whew. So all to saying, we've come to the end of today's conference, and I'd like to say a big thank you to God for seeing us this far. I'd like to say a big thank you to Madeline Akusia Awuku, who is the founder of Anijie Global Foundation. Thank you. And I would also like to thank the traditional leaders for gracing this occasion. I'd like to thank the stakeholders, ASU and the other ones. God bless you so much for coming. And I'd like to thank the schools, all the students here. Thank you. And I hope you've learned a lot. I'd also like to thank you for gracing this occasion. Please clap for yourselves. Thank you so much. So see you again next time at the next conference. God bless you.